but it was first reported at least, I think, 45 minutes to an hour ago, so it's not new. Either way, OKLO, decent retail attention, 15% short float, pushing higher as we send you over to the afternoon show with Obi and Neil. Back to you.
Ooh, I like that. I love that transition. Who did that?
What is up, everybody?
Assassino, that was legit. I'm a big fan of it. Welcome, everybody. We're back. We learned a lot today in this market. And to be honest, like the biggest thing that the market taught me today, and I'm not like this, I do the lesson of the day every single day, and the market's a great teacher, and especially when you've been around so long, you think you can't learn something new. What I learned today is do not tell Joe where he can or cannot park. Apparently, he's very passionate about that. Especially if he's 100% in the wrong, then you don't tell him what he can or cannot do.
Oh boy.
That's all I'm saying.
I missed part of that story, but
well, I don't know. Just apparently the man was just parking on some grass and didn't take it too kindly to someone telling him where he can or can't park. Don't tell this man what to do.
I like that attitude. You know, it's like wait. It was the arena's grass.
It wasn't her grass?
No.
Okay.
You got to be like, yo, do you own the arena? Come on.
They're taxpayer dollars. So he parked there because he saw someone else park. I'm just saying, stay off my grass. It's like one of those there. No, let's be real. But look, this market, after all the strength that we had this morning, like now we're starting to fall back down. I just wanted to know, like you saw Oklo was moving around their SMR, moving around. There's some of these nuclear names catching a little bit of a bid. I mean, a little bit of a bid. OKLO is the one that caught a bigger bid. I was just trying to look over at SMR to see if it was going as well, because that's one I own. But Oklo looking pretty strong in here. It was what an unbelievable reversal morning that we had on some of those stocks.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it was
Beautiful
Tesla,
reversal.
whether it was Robinhood at the open, just complete rocket ships. And we'll talk about all these for sure. But like the reversal on Tesla was insane at the open. The sellers getting complete control of the stock. It also happened over there in Robinhood. There's a lot of themes that we're going to go over for sure. There was what's the most lazy thing of all time is there was that MSOS move at the weed names going to the downside. Basically, there's a push. Potentially there was like some legislation against federalization and legality and blah, blah, blah. The reason why I'm rolling my eyes over this is this candle happens in MSOS and Tilray did that. I'm like, oh, this is like a free roll. I'm like, it's 63, so I'm like, I can short this with 0.1 cents worth of risk and with the news, and it should go. And then it goes 1 cent. So the risk to reward was fine. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get another leg out here. But the risk to reward was fine. But when I say there was a lack of follow through, I guess the weed names just don't even care anymore. They're like, good news, bad news, we're not gonna get any more out. I'm just gonna keep taking some out in front of the 62. But yeah, I saw that news come out in the middle of the day. I'm like, I'm shorting this, and absolutely nothing happened. It went 1 penny for me, despite MSOS dropping like 8%.
Yeah, that was...
Tilray decided to go down like that.
I think the opportunities are definitely there in the market, but maybe not exactly where you're looking for. That's what I'm realizing as well. And speaking of things that we're learning from the market, again, another lesson that I'm sure I've learned many times, but I guess I'm getting better at doing it more effectively, is fighting a bit of the trend before the move actually comes in. This AMD move was absolutely wild, absolutely crazy there. And yeah, in the morning, some beautiful reversions as well. We saw the Tesla reversion there, the hood failure to follow through, the Nvidia reversions back to back, the opening drives, absolutely beautiful. Look at the bid here on both the ES and the Nasdaq. A little bit of a shake and bake in the morning session, yes. But eventually, we do catch a bid, break out of opening range highs, and since then, we've had a bit of a grinding bid all the way to the upside there. So a bit of a fight for me on this AMD here, but eventually managed to kind of catch a little bit of the move here. You can see I've been keeping it tight, keeping it tight, keeping it tight. And then it comes in, I'm like, all right, well, this is looking much better now, but I am covering a bit too early here. I'm looking for VWAP, to be honest, because look, This stock has been bidding up since about 948, 945. It has not seen any sort of significant pullbacks, maybe a little bit of a hold of that 146 on AMD. Again, no catalyst, not anything strong necessarily. Nvidia's making some moves as well, but this one, when it comes to the chip sector, was quite hot. But you know what? Let's see what you guys have been talking about with the rundown with Sharif. We'll be right back.
Well, transition.
Welcome, everyone, to the afternoon rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every afternoon. OB in for Sean, as you just saw, but the big boys are locked and they're loaded and they're ready to look at the tickers as decided by you. But the only way to get those tickers up there is to join Joseph and I on the midday show and get into that chat and vote. Super easy to vote now, guys. Throw in that $sign, then a 3, 4, or 5-letter ticker. Automatically registers and it populates at the end of our show. Here's our look at all 4 major averages. We started negative on a couple of them anyway. The ES and the NQ started the day out negative. That's since changed. The ES are now up 0.2, doubling up the ES is the NQ up 0.4, the triple Qs that is. The best performing major average again, guys, the Russell 2000 up 0.6 or a little bit less, with the Dow up 0.2. So the ES and the Dow kind of looking very much like one another right now. Here's the first ticker as decided by you guys. TSLA, we're well off the highs there on Tesla, but at least still positive momentarily. There was really no headline on it, but there was speculation over the weekend that Tesla would be possibly making an investment into XAI now with Grok 4 out, guys, and the commentators and a lot of people online speaking very well of Grok 4 and its abilities relative to ChatGPT and Gemini.
True. Before we get to Tesla, Sharif, it was on a platter for you when you talked about the Russell, and it was leading the way. Every day I'm rustling, rustling. That's where you got to go with that one. Yeah, just when it comes. Sharif, that's you. Don't make me have to do it because no one wants to hear me do that. Tesla, hey, well, at least the breakout was good on Tesla. This morning came in with the note thinking it was one of two things. Like one or the other. It was either at a 319 break or a 312 dip. Who knew? It actually did both those things. Ultimately, like you said, the catalyst wasn't that big of a deal for Tesla, this whole Grok thing. It was kind of just going on its own. Really, what I hope is happening here with Tesla is you're getting a nice, gentle, nice, gentle higher low. Like the break of the downtrend has not been nearly as explosive as it's been for a lot of the tech names. And some of that has to do with, you can say, Elon's distractions and whatnot. But whatever you want to point to, there's just not the enthusiastic buying in Tesla that some of the rest of the market has had to get us back to the highs. You just can't deny it. And for the fact that we didn't get the breakaway from the 50 and the 200, which is what I was banking on today. We'd break that 19 and get the breakaway. Took most of it out on the way to 322 where the resistance came in, and when it lost 19, just had to jump back out. I did miss the 12 because it didn't really get down there, and then tried a little breakaway on a trend break or a kind of flat trade in there on Tesla. But let's acknowledge it's just weak today, and we have a failed break where there wasn't much of a catalyst, and when the market is strong, it's going to threaten to close, rejecting both the 50 and the 200 in the same day, which would probably put me favoring shorts tomorrow. But I think it's a little early for that. I mean, anything can happen here in the last couple of hours of the day. So I don't want to give up the notion that maybe it does rally and we get a strong close. But if we close under the 50 and the 200, reject both, I will come in tomorrow likely thinking short, barring some kind of a headline change or something along those lines for Tesla. So yeah, it was a good stock. There's no question, because if you took the break, it was a good one this morning. But you had to get in, get out. And if you got short, that's even better. Obviously, if you're in the long, you're less likely to get that short, I suppose. But yeah, I'd say disappointing, because I think it could have been more of a continuation play, but it just didn't happen. So sometimes you got to hit it and quit it.
Yeah, no, again, Tesla looking distinctly different than the rest of the market right now is the first thing that kind of pops out to me. I was like, all right, a lot of people were looking at the stock, myself included, for that continuation on that news of a potential rumored, I guess, acquisition or merge with XAI. And yeah, Elon saying even I think he said something about SpaceX getting their hand in some of the XAI as well. So again, in anticipation, I was looking for a little bit of a push. We were already gapping up a little bit coming into the pre-market session. This is a 15-minute chart, and this is what the market kind of looks like as of right now. So yes, initially, the first 15-minute candle on Tesla was very, I guess, similar to that of both the ES and the Nasdaq. As we wick those highs and flush back in, the Nasdaq and the ES and a lot of other stocks in the mags have pretty much recovered or found a little bit of a base. But Tesla is finding base on top of prior day's high, which is interesting. And interestingly enough, Neil pointed out that 312 level this morning. And guess what? A little bit of a double bottom happening in that 312 area with a low of 312.67 currently on Tesla. So yeah, a little bit of a crowded push off of the open. You can see even the opening candle, sure, it's a Monday open, but opening candle doing some decent volume as well as we get that nice little shake and bake. But where will we go from here? I have no idea. I had a couple shots at the long multiple times over looking for that push into VWAP, which eventually did come, but I was looking for it in the morning session and it took about 2 hours and 30 minutes, didn't really come in until 1 o'clock. I was not involved with that one there. But again, like I said, lots of opportunity off the open, looking for that drive, that failure to follow through with a flush back down, the back through open, the back through opening range low, and a little bit of a consolidation, maybe just churning range right now on Tesla. So that's the look on Tesla. It was great off of the open.
Big move up for Nebius Groups today on the back of a Goldman Sachs boost here, initiating coverage with a buy rating and announcing a price target, guys, of $68. Can't quite see the percentage up on the day, but it looks like a really good start there from the morning onwards, guys. NBIS up big.
Yeah, maybe not a name that would ever get talked about too much here, but they're invested in a bunch of AI plays and data center exposure as well. It's got a 6.5% short float, which is pretty solid. And when I look, 19 million shares here today, which is pretty good and near the top end of its recent range, but it's not like it's blowing out on volume at all. What I do love about this, well, love's not the word, like is the better way to explain this. What I do really like about this setup up here is when you pull out the 15-minute and look where it's kind of consolidating around that 51, like you've got a pretty big, you've already made one big gap move, right? So say from down here into here, that 51 level, this seems to have another leg to go. I don't know necessarily like what, just because we get an upgrade and that's not usually the catalyst I'm looking for, but with a 6.5% short float, this might have some legs the next couple of days. I think you give it a heartbeat after a big move like this and see if it can hold along this range, but it seems like it has another leg on an NBIS. I think there's a few other things worth looking at that'll be topping the list. We'll talk about some of the chips. It was just an MU, but we're talking chips next, so I can get to that in a second. But as far as runners go, like you can see one at the bottom of the chart that has, or it's the bottom of the rundown that would have my eyes a little bit more. Maybe we're going to get to Oklo as well, or Oklo. Like there's just some things which are distinctly different this afternoon. But I'd rather not be trying to make a move or a play in something which seems like it's slowing down and waiting for tomorrow when there's something that's going, lots of things that are going in here today, like OKLO, like this thing breaking through the 60 level as we speak. So yeah, NBIS in a good space. Obviously AI has been a bit of a crush and looking pretty strong as an entire group. Whether or not it has that second leg or third leg in it, I think you wait for maybe later on in the week. Tomorrow, nice consolidation play. But there's other things which are going a little bit more here today.
Yeah, no, I did not have eyes on this one for sure. But again, if I was properly doing some pre-market scans, definitely would have showed up in the pre-market. You can see right here, 2 to 3 times relative volume and even expanding all the way up to 3 to 7, 6 times coming into the open and then over 7 right off of the open there. So yeah, nice little expansion of relative volume coming into the open. kind of retracing a decent chunk of Friday's sell-off. Again, that was much less volume as well, under 1 times relative volume. So giving us that reversion and that breakout coming in, going into the open there as well. So I guess if you were looking at any of that, you definitely had eyes on this off of, or going into the open at the very least. No idea if they had a catalyst or anything like that, but a decent hold of that 49 level. You can see over and over and over again, that 49 level could not break down even after a ridiculous move. Forget about this pre-market action, this volume coming into 920 right here. You can see that move pushing up about 7%, $3.40 right off the open, and unable to push back with any sort of significance with that level hold. So that's interesting to me here. Now, going into the end of the day, we're consolidating in the upper quartile of price action on the day, which is absolutely crazy. So again, pretty looking strong with the information that's being presented on the chart. Will it follow through? I have no idea. But yeah, pretty decent move here. In terms of opportunities, again, like I said, this is just in retrospect, but you can see a little bit of a VWAP orbit here. But right away, we talk about a little bit of trend line breaks. Right here, look how clean that resistance is holding. Boom, 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 boom. When that does break, you don't, even if you're not getting involved here, this little hold, this hold, I think is pretty interesting as well. Wasn't really watching it, wasn't really trading it, but it looks pretty looking back at it. So NBIS.
AMD continuing to have a strong time. Well, today kind of flat, sold off a little bit there in the pre-market, got bought up after the bell. Lots of different rating agencies upgraded AMD last week, guys, not the least of which Goldman Sachs putting it on one of their favorites list. So AMD flat on the day, but a good macro trend as of late.
Yeah, like this, by the way, the rally in some of these nuclear names just keeps on going here. SMR is now 10.5%, Oklo's just continuing to absolutely smash it to the upside. Look, I took a shot at AMD. I know you're still in it. Obi's still in AMD. But it was one of those days where AMD was just stronger. NVIDIA and AMD are up the same percent. It's like 0.0 something. They're barely green. But if we actually look at what happened here on AMD, I will defend. I liked Tesla today. I'm not going to complain about it. Tesla did well. But AMD was absolutely ridiculous in terms of once, twice, Thursday, Friday, and then today, the 142. It's about as clear as you could imagine bottoming out at the same price. Like if you were looking at AMD as the market was dipping, as the chips were dipping, I wasn't. And I'm kicking myself because that's about as clean as you're ever going to see. And once it's made that move, I was just waiting for a chance to get a mean reversion, thinking it was going to be the shot. So the trade for myself was, this is VWAP, this is the trend, it broke the trend here, scalp, reload, scalp, break out the prior high, get out of here. And now all of a sudden it's going to go to the volume weighted average price because that's how it rolls. Just before I'm going to throw to Obi, if we break this week, it's that 148 level. This is a nice consolidative day, another day of support going into this breakout in AMD. A rising tide lifts all ships. We've been talking about it, whether you like AMD more than the stock we're going to talk about next. It doesn't matter if you just want to be able to trade this. I think there's another break coming out here on AMD, and we'll be here when, like, I don't want to be left taking a 150 at some point this week. I want to be long into 150 the day it starts going.
Oh my God, this was an absolutely beautiful trend. And I think Neil pointed out as well, a bit of a trend break that happened. I definitely got involved with that one as well. Thank you very much. So you can see right here. So this is, I'm getting involved in similar places, Neil, and we kind of talk about this. I was like, we talked about how much edge is there really left in getting into the confirmations. And then here we can see that confirmation kind of reverse itself. Sure, one can argue that you're trading against trend, but here's the thing, the trade is the counter, right? The trade is the counter trend. So looking for that push push into VWAP on that initial break of trend. Obviously not going to work cleanly. I tried a couple of times, definitely spent a little bit of risk here because I was definitely pounding it and keeping it pretty tight on AMD while the rest of the market kind of looked, well, the rest of the sector looked like it was doing a little bit of a turn. Obviously, that didn't really come into fruition as nicely, but then we finally get this strong push into 47 halves. Hello, I like quarters. And then 47 halves finally kind of comes in right there. Getting a little lucky, I kind of only had to risk like 7-8 pennies on that on this push here, which was pretty nice, and then just covering it in a lot of it, a decent chunk of it into the trend low. Just looking at that trend, kind of the range of the trend expanding. So I'm trying to just stay in step and be like, all right, well, if you're going to find a bid a little bit lower until this prior low at that 146 breaks, I'm not really looking to get any more into this one, but it worked out pretty well. Mischief managed, did spend a little bit of risk there, but absolutely beautiful. The reversion that stands out to me here was this one right here, 142 hold. And I think Neil pointed out that the significance of the 142 earlier on, and here, I can show you guys as well. Take a look at this AMD right here. Triple whammy right here. Let's get all of these useless indicators out of the way because they don't mean anything right now. Support and resistance. There's the support from Thursday, coming in clean on the 142. Here's the support on Friday, coming in relatively clean around the 142. Here's the slam off of the open, aggressive selling. Where does it find any sort of a bid or any sort of relative liquidity to kind of hold that move in place?
Let me think. Hold on, give me a second.
Yeah. You want to take a guess?
150.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Come on.
42?
142. Let's go. So the gift that keeps on giving right here, I don't know about that. Talk about advanced money destroyer. This was advanced money defending the 142 for a push back up to 147. So within the range today, I'm trying to take it back into VWAP right now, but absolutely beautiful, beautiful price action on this. No catalyst. All right, so guys, VinFast is ramping up its India expansion, partnering with 13 major dealer groups to open 32 dealerships across 27 cities, including Delhi, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, and Kolkata. The Vietnamese EV maker is building a strong sales, service, and spares network ahead of the July 15th pre-booking launch for its VF6 and VF7 electric SUVs. They're targeting 35 dealerships by year-end, with a CKD facility set to open later this month in India. VinFast trades under the ticker VFS on the Nasdaq exchange, so be sure you guys check them out. That's VinFast. Let's go to Sharif for Nvidia.
So Jensen's back in China, guys. That's his second trip Jensen's made there in 2025, and he's going to have a press conference on July 16th, so not tomorrow, but we'll give it to you the day after. He made some comments, obviously, about the Chinese military before he left, basically saying that the Chinese military is not using his company's chips in order to build out there, as he had been criticized for that. So Jensen back in China. We'll have to keep an eye out on that.
I love that headline. They don't need those chips. They want them. Always having conversations. When you have kids, the conversation between the differences between wants and needs.
Oh, yeah.
That's something
that's a big conversation.
That's something you go over a lot when you're a parent.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the market, or when it comes to NVIDIA, who cares? Same thing. They want them. They need them. Well, let's be real. You're going to get some version of them. And when they do, NVIDIA is going to make more money, which is what we care about. That said, today, it was such a weird day for the chips at the open, and you would have seen them all kind of like that little flush and then a nice little recovery. But when I look at this daily chart, and I'm using this daily chart because my other daily chart's kind of jacked up, so I'll go to the shorter time frames on the others. And then, of course, I do that, and where'd it go? Seriously? All right, well, now I am using this daily chart. That was just weird. No, like what's going on is we're dipping and we're not breaking 160. So we're getting a couple of dips. We had one on Thursday, and then we had one today. We're not really breaking away, but overall, what I do like, and AMD was just different because AMD was built differently going into the exact level that you wanted, whereas NVIDIA just has buying in and around the low 60s, 160s. So I don't know that it was that easy to be able to peg, but clearly there's a supply zone at the top end of the range, 164.5. I tried a little reversion in here. I think the first reversion on AMD was a bit better, but this supply zone at 164.5, I think I want to keep it simple. We're holding this level, then we look longs off it. If you break this level, we're looking short. Like that's the definition of an over-under. Like for the last couple of days here, there's been clear support at 164.5 area, and the one time we broke it here, and then the other 3 times we've broken underneath it in the last 5 sessions, it's literally tanked. So that does set this thing up, A, to hopefully break away from 165 so we can keep going higher and everyone's happy. But if we lose this bid this afternoon, 164.5, I think that'll look short on NVIDIA. Love NVIDIA, but you know, like that's clearly a levy that if it breaks, you want to be on the other direction. You got to be able to flip it up sometimes. And I'm kind of seeing that up at this top on NVIDIA.
Yeah, you definitely have to keep that flip game strong on this one here. Again, with that crazy move off of the open, again, we're seeing a similar kind of pattern here on a lot of these names where you get that directional strength, whether it's up or down right off of the open, and then beautiful reversions, some of which actually get back through open, back through range high or low, respective to which way they were kind of traveling initially. And then we're seeing some more of that here on NVIDIA. Again, beautiful reversion kind of coming in on Friday. I was watching this. I really, really liked this short. Didn't really get involved with it, but kind of a grind slowly all the way into the close. And then maybe some follow through off of the open, which was interesting because some of those pre-market levels holding that end of day range was pretty interesting. And then that continuation coming in pretty nicely as well. Reversion of that selling does come in just as nicely for the sideways consolidation. But again, we've been consolidating sideways for over 3 hours now. So again, has not really done anything. Again, I've been involved with AMD while NVIDIA's been doing this. We kind of attempt to break the highs, we attempt to break the lows, but it's been in a consolidation range here since about, when is this? About 11 o'clock. So the range being about, I guess, just even less than $1. Oh boy, on something like NVIDIA. So nothing too much to see there after the opening session, but sideways consolidation underneath or in and around that end of day consolidation from yesterday, but going to be interesting. Going into tomorrow, this 3 hour range that's being defined right now is definitely going to be a little bit interesting to me, as well as the day high coming into tomorrow. So let's see if it has anything for us going into the close, but that's the look on NVIDIA for now.
Bay Area, no headline on it today, but it continues kind of the lower low and lower high trend we've been seeing essentially since that topping move that we had last week. Still, you know, getting off the lows. It was selling off in the pre-markets, recovered a little bit, guys, but still a little bit of a downtrend here on Big Bear AI.
You know what? I'm going to say you've kind of broken this downtrend. It's just not long enough of a downtrend. And I know this was a conversation in the morning show as well. Like, have we broken this little bit of a downtrend here? I don't know that you have. It's very, very, I think it's like aesthetically, whether you want to call it a break of this downtrend. I think certainly if we can close above, it's a trend break. I don't know that it matters. It's SSR today because it was down 10% on Friday. That means the uptick rule is in effect, and it just means sometimes relief rallies can be better. So it was a classic bounce for that reason alone. And then as simple as this, Friday's afternoon, like there's your morning flush, there is your midday resistance. It's right in here at about $6.70. Well, that's where it's consolidating this afternoon, and it's got a bid. Like just if it holds 670, continuation long this afternoon. If it breaks 670, get out. I feel the same way. Like I'm kind of thinking for this thing, like this afternoon. But there you go. Like there's that high. Like longs into that high. If it loses it, wait for view off. The same way I feel like Nvidia. If it breaks that 164.5, I want to go short. I'm thinking the same thing with BBI. The real only the problem with it is why would this go when clearly you're having the action and volume just go nuts over in the nuclear space. Like SMR is just on one, Oklo is on one, at this point. Like I feel as if these are going to be the jam this afternoon, and it is just program buying. Now, when they do one of those stupid candles, like if you go just linear to the upside like this, and then put in a couple of these types of candles from the morning, that's where I would look for a mean reversion short. So that's what I'll eyeball over here. Well, it just got very bright in here.
He just sneezed the lights on.
That was intense. You guys see how like my head just shined up there? That was intense. I just double checked to make sure we have locates on this. But yeah, if we get a parabolic move to the upside, that's what I would look to fade on SMR. But BBAI, I think you look at that 70 level. If we're staying with this, I think you look at that 670 level for the longs. And yeah, it does make a little sense. Like where you catch a bit of a bid, and it's trying to break that trend. Fabian just ran past me and was like, sprinted next to me and was like looking around like, what's going on?
He's trying to be faster than the lights.
Yeah, he's still running around there.
Yeah, no, okay, so...
yeah, well, sorry, just to finish this off. Yeah, 670, I'd go long in front, but that's like a really tight risk to reward. Maybe you try to make 15, 20 cents to risk 5 kind of deal.
Yeah, no, I did not necessarily have this stock on my watch list this morning, but I guess if you guys are interested with it, there's definitely some interest from last week that's still carrying over. But again, I kind of, I like these names for bigger picture backside moves, I'll be honest. And Big Bear AI looking like it kind of gave up that bid last week. So I have had eyes on it. Yeah, no, this is interesting. This is the most interesting to me here, Neil, where it kind of started its journey. Look at that beautiful, nice little anchored VWAP holds as well. I kind of want to put an anchored from, see, that's where I have my initial anchored from. So we have this buildup that's been happening all the way from April, and we got to a high of $8.72 all the way from a low of $2.35 over the span of just 2 or 3 months. So yeah, definitely a big move here on Big Bear AI. The beautiful crack of trend coming in with the opening drive right there last Wednesday, and that continuation coming in now with lower lows and lower highs. So yes, all day we've bid up today. The question becomes, Neil, are we going to hold higher lows here because the bigger picture trend has been going up? Let's just go up another time frame to the hourly chart here. So you can see, boom, 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 nice little stair step. But you can see we're coming into some prior levels where obviously supply kind of came in aggressively coming into the end of February here in 2025, so earlier this year. So again, doing maybe a little bit more of the same. Like I said, intraday didn't really have eyes on it, but a slow grind up is pretty interesting. And it's interesting that you point out that SMR as well, Neil, because I did not have eyes on it. But yeah, definitely there is some sort of a buyer. Sometimes here's the thing, when demand is so aggressive, or when the imbalance of buyers and sellers is so aggressive, sometimes you cannot hide, and the chart kind of looks like this incremental step up. And you know, SMR, this is a good example. It's not as clean, but we've seen some very, very clean examples as well. I'm trying to think of something in more recent times, something that just had a grinding bid here. Sure, maybe AMD, but this is a 3-minute chart. You can see here on a 5-minute, pretty clean as well. But algorithmic buying, if you want to call it that, sometimes can be very, very obvious here. But yeah, BBAI, I don't know if that's what's really going on here, but a little bit of a chop and a grind up within range of this trend, downtrend that we've been kind of making. So if you want to get a little bit more technical or fancy with this, we can draw, let's see, where is this one right here? Got to draw a fancier line in the parallel channel. So there we go, boom, boom, boom. So that's kind of like the range right there of the breakdown. Yeah, you can just measure the range, like a range trend right away. So it's like, sure, we're trending down, but that trend is also within its own range. So maybe we are hitting near the extremes of range highs, even within the downtrend. So that's something I'm watching for. But again, you got to remember, this could be very arbitrary. When we're trending, I would almost always put a little bit more emphasis on horizontal support and resistance rather than trending support and resistance. But I think that's very, again, it's very subjective, I would say. Yeah.
I like that tool, but I'm way too old school to use. You can't be giving me advanced tools like that. I'll just draw it myself.
No, what do you?
I'm joking. No, that is actually pretty cool. I don't know why I don't use tools like that. Just a couple of things here. I'll get to NVIDIA in a quick little second, but I did want to mention Tilray first because I still had some Tilray left when it just broke back out above 63, so I punched it out. I didn't really look to see what MSOS was doing at the time. As I said, like I just shorted Tilray because this was happening, and it gave me a free roll at the 63 level, but it really only ever went down like the 62, took most of it out, and then it breaks back out, so we jump out of the trade, which you have to be able to do. And the same thing, we said, well, I keep saying we, but you know I mean me. Like we break this floor on Nvidia, I'm gonna punch short on Nvidia, looking for like the retracement to happen. This is a little different of an out. Like oftentimes, like if I'm taking this break, you'd be like, oh, prior bar or whatever it might be. But I'm just looking at this trend line that it has to the downside, and if it breaks the trend line up, then I'll get out of the trade. So if you just kind of look at the high, look at these lower highs on a 3-minute, if we break the trend line, I'm out. So it's a bit of a moving target, whereas like as it starts working to the downside, my stop will actually move down in this particular case. I'll have to do it manually, but that's the idea with NVIDIA. And I'm looking for it to, first test the volume weighted average price, which I will get something out in front of, and then play down into like this range here just underneath 164. And then my stop is gonna be on that trend line for sure. I know there was a few things in the chat people were asking about, but one name that stands out, which, and again, if you ever just wanna, like if you tag, like there you go, like see how often beat with Clint Nelson, just tag me in there asking questions. You can always do that, of course. You've been monitoring Etsy, you're thinking about a swing short. I'll try to get to that as quickly as I can, but there were a few people that asked about Circle, which absolutely, look, this scrolls today. But whether you're talking Circle or Core Weave, it makes sense to me that the top has come in on those and they're working their way back down. But today was a relief rally day for Circle. What I would be concerned about is the lack of juice. What stock is that? Oh, that's that stupid penny stock. I'm like, why am I seeing something like with the lack of juice at the 200 level? So I have one trade in Circle. I took a little bit of a breakout play just for a scalp trade on Circle, but then after it broke the open range high, slapped a trend line on it to see if it could look like a good breakdown. Wasn't really, it didn't go like right away and never really looked all that, like it didn't really sell off in there, so I didn't see any reason to get involved in it. However, it then double taps this 200 and is holding right at the trend. This could squeeze again this afternoon through the 200 level on Circle. I think that's worth a look. I'm going to throw that up on a second level too, see if we can break through that 200. And then to answer the question on Etsy, thoughts on this? I don't know the catalyst that will make me like it for Etsy at this particular point. Like for myself, like long term, like if I own Meta, who needs Etsy at the end of the day? That said, last week was a really strong week for these guys. If you're just looking at it, I love when you can consolidate and bounce off like this level here, like to 56. Like there's your huge move, like just program buying into selling, and then this is an obvious spot, like first bounce, there's your resistance. That's what held last week. So I think you're getting a nice consolidation here on Etsy, but that's about it. So if you're just waiting for it to break out that top and then give it back into here or something like that, like break out the high at 58.5 and give it a 56.5 stop and get it to trend back into there. I guess you could do a swing trade like that, but Etsy's not really my cup of tea. There's always better names. Like I love Meta's dollar cost averaging into that one this year, so like that'd be my pick. But let's go to Adara. I believe we've got some news.
META here. New York Times reporting that the new Meta Chief AI Officer, that would be Alexander Wang, former CEO and co-founder of Scale AI. Apparently, this new AI team under Alexander Wang is considering scrapping Meta's most powerful open source AI model, Behemoth, in favor of a closed model. So looks like under this new AI regime here, a new team at Meta, they're making some pretty interesting changes. We'll have to see what comes of this. Right now, it's just a report from the New York Times. Back to you.
Dream team over there.
He's literally building the AI all-star team, and he's throwing money at it. So it's just like, all right, I'm gonna be very, very interested in what Zucky has in store for us with this dream team, right? I'm just like, we were talking about this last week, like, yeah, and I heard Brendo say it this morning as well. He's like, not just athletes now. I'm like, yeah, dude, these guys are athletes in their own field. Right? These guys are the top of the top runners in the AI field, and this is what's kind of pushing. I guess not. I wouldn't say society, but in a sense, yes. But human evolution and just the whole general sense of things along much faster. So yeah, I would say they deserve all of it and more. Supply and demand, I think, will speak for itself. So,
let them eat.
Yeah, let them eat.
And understandable, TTMSTR. TT Master, I don't know what that is. TT Master maybe? Meta stealing all your privacy. Well, maybe. But they're also making a lot of money, which is good. Look, at the end of the day, like, you have to, and you know what? I have absolutely zero, like, I have no issue with ethical investing. You want to say, I don't like the way these guys do business. UNH is a good example. I don't like the way these guys do business. I don't care if they make money. I don't want to invest in. That's fair. You know, I think ultimately Meta's not going anywhere. Meta's going to win on multiple levels. They're even trying to get into, they're trying to develop and push further into devices, which I think could be a huge platform for them. So I think they're just going to win, whether you like it or not, in this particular case. And they're certainly spending, and they're not getting punished for the spending either. Like, it's not like you're throwing out massive capex and then you've got the market punishing them for that. So I think it's being received pretty well here, and that's kind of what I want to bank on. So like, I like the stock. I don't know that I'd be buying it up here on Meta. To me, like I said, like, this was one of my DCA plays on the year as it was heading to the downside. But then Otto saying Meta will get punished. I don't look. All I'm simply saying is they have not been punished for all of the spend that they've been doing to this point. And I think, like, I wouldn't mind if I started to see it break the trend, like trimming some from buying on the DCAs this year. Sure, when it goes up 30, 40, 50% from those lows, you want to look for signs to take some up. I don't know that I've seen that just yet. You know, I'd like to see us make another run at that high, or at least obviously break this trend that we've seen so far. So I think there's a lot that can still work here. So anyways, where did my trend line go? All right, anyways, you guys, this trend line's still here. So it's trying to break. It hasn't closed above the trend line here on Nvidia, but that's the play. Like, I might bid in front of the volume weighted average price, and there's a trend. If it can close above, I punch out. It's that simple on NVDA. The other thing I wanted to come over to is what is going on with that in the nuclear space. Oklo and SMR starting to do a little bit of a dip here. See which one's going further. Ooh, did I just see Oklo already going and SMR is not going yet? Ooh, I check we have shorts on this.
Or might
we do.
Oh, yes, we can.
do. That looks like a yes, we can, Obi. Yes, we can short this one. Yeah, this looks like a bit of a. It hasn't really broken the trend, but Oklo has. Is it Oklo or Oklo?
I'd say Oklo. Some people don't even say it. They say OKLO.
Is it?
But
okay, well, you guys tell me which one it should be. I actually not even sure. It doesn't really matter, but the way I look at it, so you're breaking this consolidation level. I was looking at these anyways. I had the chart up. I was kind of looking for a mean reversion play. But the way I see it, OKLO already sort of breaking down, and then SMR at the consolidation level. So I feel like I can just sort of get in here, even though it technically hasn't broken the trend, throw my stop at the high. I mean, forget about VWAP. If this thing gets even to like 40.5, I'll be happy with it. Dara?
Oklo is actually pronounced Oklo, and it's not even something that we can kind of waver on because apparently it actually comes from the name of a region in Gabon. So it's actually a region here in a country in Africa, OKLO. Just a quick fun fact there. I don't have any news right now. Back to you.
No, I'm more than happy to get it right. And no, to be perfectly honest, like one of those things, like in life in general, like just be okay with being wrong. And if you don't know something, have the confidence to ask. When we started, I'm not making this up, like when we started, first of all, when the show came to YouTube, we had been on internally at Real Trading for like 8 months or so. So we've been doing the show forever. And as a trader, oftentimes, like you're trading companies and tickers, and you have no idea how these things are pronounced. And I remember everybody on the floor, like there was like 1 or 2 people on the entire trading floor that actually, like nobody really pronounced NIO correctly. Like so many
NIO.
people.
Yeah, everyone used to say NIO. I remember watching the show.
NIO.
It was like NIO, and I would sit at home. I'd be like, "Yeah, LOL, NIO. That's what I'm going to call it too," because I thought it was just a running joke. But when I came to the floor, I was like, "No, these guys are just serious."
And we just didn't know.
Yeah,
like it,
no,
basically, it more just came down to like the first person that ever said the name probably just said NIO on the floor,
and it just stuck.
And it just stuck because all you're doing is day trading the stock. And ultimately, what happened is someone was kind enough to be like, "Hey guys, you know you're mispronouncing this," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" And the same way with names too. Like, you guys let me know. Like every now and then I'll see someone in the chat and I'll say, "Hey, shout out to that person," and then we'll mispronounce their name. And we're never trying to get it wrong. We're just all human here. Palantir, Mr. Ducats, AHZ. A lot of people asking about Palantir. Palantir, wherefore art thou? I had Palantir early for one good one off of VWAP and then kind of left it alone to see it go off VWAP again. I think we're going to get the break. Like Palantir, like right now is breaking its all-time. Okay, maybe not. What are we, 30 cents away from the all-time high on Palantir? It's about to break its all-time high, which it's done, I don't know how many times this thing has made an all-time high this year, but let's just leave it at a lot and not try to get technical with it. I think we'll get a 150 break this week. We've been waiting around for that. As far as the afternoon trade goes, it's just not really, like, look at, not a lot of volume. It's not really moving around. I want to see it start to really go like that mean crazy where you're getting a little bit extra movement on it. That's why I went over to SMR, just thinking we get a little more action there, and it's just not going. But I do like Palantir for like the more dramatic dips. Like when it's going ham, buy the dramatic dips. Just should have had this one here on VWAP. That's what I'd look for this afternoon. Maybe you get some kind of a fail break, big pullback, and then you can continue, because this is just like a steady Eddie climb. And remember, this was one that we pointed out. I don't know why the top of my trend line isn't here. I guess I could use that tool you were talking about.
Yes.
That's hilarious that you were talking about that tool, and then of course I don't use it. No, but we talked about this trend line since it broke out 100. Look how cleanly it holds it. So logically speaking, why wouldn't it be headed to the top of the channel? I think that's exactly what Palantir is doing. But I'll stick with SMR here for now as we go look at a little something interesting.
Yeah, so Beta Pro by Global X. Savvy Canadian traders looking to boost their exposure can now tap into the Nasdaq 100 and the S&P 500 with Beta Pro 3 times daily leveraged ETFs, featuring built-in FX hedging. This aims to amplify short-term market moves, minimizing the impact of currency swings. Whether you're feeling bullish or bearish, these ETFs are built for active day traders ready to take on the market. Read the full risk disclosure in the prospectus at betapro.ca before investing. Check them out. So, I mean, OCLO, OKLO, I don't know, you know what, I really don't know, nor do I care how to pronounce it, but take a look at this OK low that happened right off of the open, which kind of confluences with the OK lows from the prior day at 54s.
Ew.
Right? That was interesting. And then you finally come in, and when you do break that opening range high, okay, there is no low. We just kind of continue to push straight up with that action, expanding volume as well, nice little trend, and okay, we might be making a little bit of a regional low right now on top of 60. But again, like Neil said, this is not the only stock that's kind of doing this. SMR, you can take, I think I was saying CEG as well, because again, part of the kind of the sector, in my opinion, still kind of doing somewhat similar things. I think NNE was another one here. Buddy's probably going to be looking relatively similar. There you go. Nice little push through the highs and a little bit of a pullback as of right now. So I think I just want to address something. It was Acrylic. Acrylic in the chat was asking me what moving average do I use for my volume bars. I don't necessarily have a volume moving average there. For my volume, I think I just said that, yeah, I just like to look for volume kind of expansion and contraction just off the bars. Like here, a good example here on NNE, just taking a look at the chart we're already looking at, just looking for this, this volume that's already been compressed as we trade a little bit lower to start expanding once again alongside with the break of trend and the reversion back up. That gives me some good confluence being like, all right, the price action's also going and the volume's confirming, so I like the move even better. If I'm not in it, I'm maybe thinking about initiating it. If I am in it, I may be thinking about adding or holding on to it. So a little bit of a confluence on that one there. I know there's a lot of chats here. Let's see, Palantir they want us to look at. Mr. Ducats will be on that one soon. And then what else we got? We got Rivian. Tony asking for Rivian, and UT asking thoughts on TROO. Okay, so let's start with those, and then we can kind of move from there. So Palantir was the first one, right? Palantir. So Palantir, oh boy, wow, this thing is actually going 150s, Neil, within range. I know I was kind of involved in this one last week. Here, let's kind of go to a higher time frame, because this thing has been stepping up quite beautifully, to say the very least. Again, we had that aggressive selling. This was beautiful continuation in the next couple of days after that strong selling does come in with some relative volume, but you can see we've kind of reclaimed, held that 130, and now pushing back towards range highs. So got to go even higher, because these are, I think, all-time highs for Palantir that are being knocked on as of right now. Currently, the high sitting at 148.38. Currently trading at 148.31, so only about 7 pennies away from that high, but absolutely beautiful kind of hold of this trend. People were talking about, oh, you know, Palantir, where's the top? This is the top. This might be the top. You know what? I have no idea. All I like are, you know, funny colors on the chart, and maybe some lines as well right here. So boom, right away. As soon as I draw this one line, all of these start to populate. So you can see multiple levels of confluence. This right here is the earnings anchored for Palantir. So look at all those aggressive dips, hold the earnings anchored, and then, you know, sometimes you can get a little bit anchorception. And you know, you can build anchors on top of the anchor there, maybe off of a different event. But you can see holding trend and holding recent supports pretty well. Here we talked about in the morning, somebody in the chat was like, oh, the hourly trend on Palantir has broken. And I was like, well, I don't know about that. And that's when we drew this line in the morning session. I was like, yeah, sure. You can look at this break and look to potentially look to get short, right? This is a 3-hour chart, so we were looking at the 1 hour. So let's go to the 1 hour right there. So you can see we were trading below it in the pre-market, but take a look at that bid coming in right off the bat, because bigger picture, we are technically still in a very, very strong uptrend.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
Would you ever play a trend break on that high of a time frame?
Of course.
If it no. If especially on a stock which is like bigger weighting to the market, like not a small cap, where the break of the trend is only occurring in the pre-market.
So that's the nuance.
That's okay. That's
perfect.
This is my thing.
Yeah.
If it's a penny, if it's like a small cap stock or penny stock, like I don't care that it's happening in the pre-market when it breaks that trend. That's fine. But if it's happening in like Palantir or Nvidia or like Tesla or like Apple, I think I'll go to Nvidia first. Just gotta always have to update the positions. I'll let you guys know. And someone asked me, and I'll finish the thought in a second. Someone asked me, am I adding to Nvidia here as it went to the upside? My answer was a simple no. If I take a trade that is, this is channel down, break channel, stop at the trend line, that's the trade. It's not, oh, well, as it goes against me, I'm going to add to it because it happens to be consolidating. Now, if it's working down and you add to it as it's like breaking VWAP and it's working, fair. But I don't average in just for the sake of averaging in. Like the trade is break this support, this is the trend line breaks, that's my out. Like I try to keep it simple like that so that you can have the good R to R and I'm not really fighting anything. So again, that's just my style. But back to that point about that trend line break on Palantir, like I don't care what trend it is. If it's Palantir, I want confirmation, because like if you're underneath it, that's fine. But what happens when the money comes in?
Right.
And when the big money comes in, if the first thing they do is reclaim the trend line, I want to be I want to be long. It's resuming the trend. So that's where I need that confirmation. Like I said, if it's a penny stock, I don't care. Like a smaller stock, you just go ahead and do it because they have so much action in the pre-market relative sometimes to what they're going to do in the open market. But Not with a Palantir, not with a Tesla, not with a Apple, like any of those types of stocks. I think hopefully everyone gets what I'm getting at there. SMR, I mean, it's still like it broke the trend line, yada, yada, yada. It's still holding. One of the things you generally want to see, I think, when you have that kind of an upward trend that broke, is you want it to kind of go right away. It's not. Like the stock just went like $3, and when it breaks this consolidation off top, went like 20 pennies. That's not really that great. Usually it's like, oh, just give it to the high. What I'm considering doing is just taking half off at this lower high and not giving the whole thing to the high. And that's simply because it's not going right away. I think when you go right away for a trend trade or a trend break, those are absolutely the best. But if it can't fall almost immediately, like here's an example. Look at the chart right here. That's actually perfect.
Oh yeah.
Because I can just go back to Friday. Right, like there is the trend break here. It just starts falling right away and making lower highs and all that good stuff. And that did not stop me for half. So I'm just gonna take out half right there. And again, like that's sort of the thing. Like it can work. If it works right away, great. That's exactly what you're looking for. And these are the types of trades you get one, and you should. And everyone's gonna be different. But for me, you get one of those, and it should pay for like 3, 4, maybe even 5 of these that don't work, because that risk to reward is good. So when I don't see it work right away, my first thought is to trim and not try to risk as much. But when they do go, you give it a little bit of room. That's why we like those trend reversal trades for sure. Pug Life, only because you tagged me in here. I know you are very methodical in your trades and you stick to your rules. Guess that comes with years of being a floor risk manager. You know what's weird? Like doing the risk manager job, that actually didn't change the way I approach things. It's just more my personality as a trader, because it's kind of just how I am. Like I'm just that way in a general sense. So that's the way I am in my trading. And you have to find a strategy which suits you. Like for some people, you're just gonna be built more aggressively. You're gonna wanna do more ad hoc kind of stuff because maybe that's how you flow better. And if you're not trading that way, you're not being yourself. And so you try to find strategies that fit you. For me, that kind of as binary as possible, if then statement kind of deal where I'm not wavering from the plan very much. That's just how I'm generally built a little bit. So I tailor the plan to like myself. And it works, again, if it works for you, it works for you. But I'm not sitting here saying that's the only way to do things. Yeah, I'm not that arrogant. Like I'm not sitting here saying, yeah, but you better stick to your plan and you better take half off here because it doesn't go right away. I'm like, I don't know. It's just what works for me. So that's what you try to do. So hopefully and that's Rivian Millionaire. You ever get mad at anyone? You know who I get mad at all the time?
I mean, the song that you sent me today, you might have been getting...
Okay, but Obi, we can't play that.
No, of course not, of course not.
Yeah.
No, we cannot. But I'm saying, but with respect to do you ever get mad? I mean, I don't know.
Well, the problem, okay, so here's the problem. I can't even allude to the song.
No.
I can't really. Here's the best I'll be able to do so that you guys are like, what are you guys talking about? There's a channel on YouTube that does like AI music, and very specifically, they do it to like old, like maybe like 70s or 80s, like R&B or funk, but the topics are
they like switch
just
it up.
very much not leaning towards like rhythm and blues, because like the actual lyrics will be something very different, which I find them hilarious, and I like that genre.
There's some really good ones, because like
really good ones, but I can't, like, it's wildly inappropriate, some of the titles, so we won't get into that too much. But what I was gonna say is, everybody, of course you get mad, of course you get angry.
Human.
Like we get like human and emotional all the time. It's just like I tend to be pretty measured, and I had this conversation with. It might have actually, I don't know if it was you. It might have been Sharif. Now that I think about it, we're like the most emotional in the last, let's say, like year or two that I got in a trade, and it was during the midday. Like I literally stood up, and I like stormed off the stage, and like I might have cursed. I don't think I cursed, but I might have. And someone was like, and I think like Sharif messaged me. He was like, "What was that?" And I was explaining to him what happened. And I had literally just made what was my execution was the biggest trade anyone had made on the floor that day. the execution I had made out. But what had happened on the stock was I had hit the same trade twice for a good win, but it was worth 2.5 times as much. And based on how much I risked both times, it was a terrible execution to have not taken the 2 to 2.5. It was like it was a big winning trade, but I had just made not nearly enough for how much I had risked, and I had done it twice. And so I was livid with myself. Like, I was pissed, even though it was a winning trade, to the point where I was actually cursing about it. Like, that's the way I approach things. It's just sort of the way that I'm built. Like, I just focus on the decision making. At the end of the day, like, I don't know. Anyways, let's go back on to something else.
That's a
and
great.
no, Artemis,
that's
that's not the song. If somebody were to guess it correctly in the chat, I would give you a bit of a head nod. It's not. You did not. It's not like NWA or anything like that. It's AI generated.
No, Neil, I think you make a great
I'm
point.
chuckling just thinking about it.
Yeah, I know. I got to go back and I still haven't heard this whole song, but no, I think you make a great point there, Neil. I think because at the end of the day, guys, we're human. You're going to have emotions, especially when it comes to trading. The market will teach you exactly who you are. The market will give you what you deserve. Now, if you understand that statement, I'm still trying to understand it, but you know, as you trade more and more, you start learning more and more about yourself. And I think something that's important, like Neil pointed out, was yes, we're all going to feel emotion. We're going to feel frustration. We're going to feel tilt. We're going to feel anger. But the difference comes in how you manage that emotion. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's good or bad. You can have fear, you can have excitement. The real question becomes, can you use that emotion to your advantage in a productive and effective way when it comes to trading? And that, I think, will definitely make the biggest difference, to be honest. That literally makes the biggest difference, not only just in trading, dude, in life. Because how you, it goes back to things you can control and things you cannot control.
Oh, I
right?
like that.
You can feel the emotion, that's fine. But coming to reality with yourself and coming to terms with yourself and being like, okay, these are the things that I can change, these are the things I cannot change, and how can I use this emotion that I'm feeling right now in order to, you know, build and be constructive and move forward. And I think that is what makes difference, not only amongst traders, amongst people as well. So that's, again, a great point to kind of cover there. But going back to the markets here, still grinding to the upside, so you know it's a nice day for longs there, and yeah, exactly. Mr. Easy Street saying there is no spoon. Exactly.
There is no
I think
what?
There is no spoon.
Oh, like the Matrix.
Yes, like the Matrix. Yes. So I think that's a big part of the understanding. So I like that. I like that as well. So back to the market. Yes, let's take a quick look at some of the volume leaders on the day. I know that we said we were going to take a look at Rivian and a couple other names as well, so let's do that first before we look at what some of the volume leaders on the day have been. So we're still on this hourly chart, so let's just take a continued look here at some of these stocks on this same time frame. So hourly chart on Rivian this morning, we may have had a little bit of a flush in the pre-market coming into the open, and off of the open, we're getting that little bit of a continuation. Well, so you can see right here, can't really bid above this kind of bounce high after that flush does come in. That seems to be around $12.91 here, and then breaks that pre-market low for a little bit of a flush. But sideways consolidation since then, and look at this, beautiful, kind of doing what it has been doing in the bigger picture, which has been selling off, making lower lows and lower highs since this top with some of the most volume. You can see right here, this volume bar kind of towering over some of the rest of them, and since then volume kind of decreasing and price kind of coming back down as well on Rivian. So exactly. So yeah, even higher time frame. I think some people in the chat are saying look at even a higher time frame. So let's take a look at it weekly here as well. You can see, oh boy, this is Rivian, right? Don't forget where it came from. I remember the swing short on this. This was absolutely beautiful. So again, I don't know anybody who's still holding that swing short off the IPO, but again, if you are, kudos to you. I guess we're looking for zeros here.
You had to get it out at some point.
No, you definitely had to get it out somewhere.
Yeah, you would have covered it the first time it bounced off 10, I would guess.
I think, yeah, I don't know, it wasn't. It was not a SPAC, but yeah, all-time lows coming in at $8. on Rivian. So good look there. Yeah, in terms of kind of the market moves that it's been having as of recent, yes, definitely exploitable, a little bit of opportunity there for sure. Okay, so let's see. Northwest Sasquatch saying, well, some of what you say about getting what one deserves from the market may be true, but until the manipulation, corruption, and criminal activity becomes non-existent, I refuse to believe. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that you might not trade the markets ever then. Because to be honest, manipulation exists. Corruption obviously exists, criminal activity. If you sit down and watch price action day after day, like you will see the fugazi. You will see activity that you're like, okay, well, clearly somebody knew. There's an interesting.
100%. By the way, just very quickly here, I got to do two things. One, I think we're right to get out. Remember I said I'm going to take some out of SMR and not let it get to the high? Ends up being the right call. Like instead of, it's just risk less because it didn't go right away, so you're able to trim here, and then that way you're just, I don't know, like the way I see it, you lose half the amount on the same trade because of something that you see right away. And again, that's just my own 2 cents. But there was also, it's a what was the stock? I literally just had it up. TROO, that's the one. Thank you, Adara. I didn't even say it out. Adara had no clue what I was going to talk about next. And before I'm even thinking, it's in my head. She's literally saying it's TROO that you want to talk about, Neil. This is the 50 millionth halt today, or whatever the heck you could count them up if you want. For anyone watching this particular stock, its tap is $1.53, indicating an open down here. This is essentially just going halt to halt, despite the fact it might do 100 million shares today, which is a little bit abnormal, but it's also just like a dollar stock, meaning it doesn't have to move that much for it to get to the halt band. Very tricky to trade them. I don't know why they don't sometimes adjust the halt bands in situations like this. It makes it less, it would be more orderly, as a matter of fact, if they would just adjust the halt bands. Let's be real. But I'd be very careful with this, especially given the fact that it just lost the high. And if you're indicating down at 150, we've seen this story before. Sometimes when something gives it up, I'm just going to use an example of something today. When I say it gives it up, there's like a distinct turn in the stock and it can get really nasty trying to catch the bids. That would be that Stardust, or whatever this thing was called. Is it Stardust? Yeah, it is Stardust Power. Like Stardust Power was trending higher, and then when it lost the bid, it was a stair step down, and it might even break again down underneath 43. Did I ever pay for locates here? I did not. So I can't even short this if I wanted to. But I think that's what you have to be concerned with the TOOO or TROO stock, is the simple fact that it might be losing a little bit of its steam. The volume's starting to come down. You're trending down in volume after multiple halts to the downside. I'd be careful with that. It's not the best liquidity. The tap just dropped to 130 as I was talking from 150. That's the theoretical auction price. Where it would open if they opened it right now would be right down here. So it might even be too late to give that warning, to be honest with you guys. Brother Howard, thank you for the super chat. Teach these young traders well. That's what it's all about. I'm trying not to. In the afternoon, I find that like nothing, like the two best stocks for me were Tesla on the initial break. Like here's the problem with, it's not the problem with, there's the thing with trading. Like in the morning, you get opportunities like that on Tesla or on that Stardust, which now all I can think about is Rogue One every single time I say Stardust. Or you get Stardust, which was like just so super easy 54 break that goes to like 60 cents, and you can literally risk 2 pennies, and it just very, very clean goes 6 to 8. Super clean trade. Like you're not, like those types of trades are just not there in the afternoon. Like nothing's moving that much. So you don't want to overtrade. That's why I don't mind answering questions, going over whatever you guys want to. We can talk macro, whatever it might be, because overtrading here, I'd rather take shots where you can get a move. Doesn't work, just jump right out. But other than that, there's just not a heck of a lot going too much. Nvidia is falling, so I know AMD must be working pretty well over there. Because I'm seeing Nvidia. Someone just said that Nvidia is going down. I looked up. Like I tried it on the breakdown. I might give this one another chance. Here to break down underneath the same 164.5 level. Just be a little bit more patient with the entry. Like let it hold down under here and then jump in on Nvidia, I think I'd give it another go. Like, I think that's got some serious room if it gives it up, especially with the market at the highs. You get down to 163.5. So I might give Nvidia another try, but it's to be patient for sure.
Yeah, I think the price action on that stock there, those halt ups, those halt downs, are absolutely crazy. So yeah, you gotta heed what Neil is talking about there, because it is definitely true. All right, so AMD finally coming back in. I guess you didn't get that one. No, nothing.
Shoot, oh, sorry, I was.
True. The ticker's name TR.
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop.
No,
Listen, I'll be here all week.
That's on me for not getting it. You can call me out for not getting it.
It's all good.
That's fair.
Dude, this thing is finally breaking down. So you can see it's sitting in that short for a while. I have covered more than 99% of this AMD position as of right now. So, oh boy. But finally kind of coming in. Let's see if the selling can come in into 146 as some prior structure here as well. But like Neil said, some of the best kind of momentum trades show up off of the open, maybe going into the close as well. It is a different, I would say, a different kind of style of trading in the middle of the day, where things are moving less aggressively, less slowly, but you can see that sometimes things do set up to trade and move just as fast intraday if you have like a catalyst, maybe you have an unusual buyer or seller, unusual volume that comes into the stock regardless of for whatever reason. It can present you with those fast-moving momentum kind of opportunities as well, and that's what I love as well. You can, like, when stuff is really in momentum, like you can tell, you can be like, oh, I have very strong conviction that this is going to go and this is going to continue to go in this direction. And if I am wrong, I'm more than willing to be wrong because I'm looking for it to just go right away, right? And kind of going back to the point of like market manipulation we were talking about, and criminal activities, whatever. It's a market. Dude, it's an open market. Those kind of activities will happen. So what you have to do as a trader, whether you're whether you're swinging, you're shorting, you're longing, you're intraday trading, you're playing options, what you have to do is get better. I know it sounds abrasive, but you got to remember that this is a player versus player game, and some people maybe are not cut out to play PvP games, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're going to sit there and be like, I don't want to participate because I think things are being manipulated or whatever, things are happening that it's not fair, I'm really sorry, but you won't be able to kind of extract from the market.
Well, or you can lean into that and say, I want to find an edge where the algos lose.
It's offside. It's like, where do the bigger players lose?
Okay, so right? where's an example of some of the more just like lazy predatory algos where they might lose? Yeah. And I think in recent times we've seen it sometimes with some of the tariff like Trump headlines, where like the reaction to the initial news will just be flat out like nonsensical, like the wrong things will go, and you can sort of fade it back the other way. Oh, here's a good example. Aha. Friday. On Friday, whoops, I should start with PayPal or Square. Let's start with PayPal. So on Friday, sometimes I get ahead of myself. On Friday, we had that news. JP Morgan says payment processors are going to have to pay up for client data. Upstart, Affirm, Square or Block, all absolutely tanking. PayPal took it on the chin the worst. But remember, in this particular case, what happens in that moment when that story drops? Okay, everyone has to evaluate like how serious it is, but the first thing that happens is because almost all the market making and liquidity is supplied by algos, they just drop the bid. Well, if you honestly think they're going to drop the bid here and not in the other fintech names, then you're crazy, because they absolutely will drop the bid in all the fintech names. Like I was in SOFI at that moment. I was actually in a long on trend in SOFI when it broke the trend, and that happened. But if you looked at what happened to, say, a Robinhood on that news, sometimes, and this is more of a swing thing than anything else, don't get me wrong, like obviously it's going to continue to the downside. Now, Robinhood initially, when it broke the trend with everything else, did catch a bid. And I think part of the reason it caught the bid is the understanding that this was the payment processors that were going to get hit the most. But they sold everything. So you could go initial bounce on something like a hood, which actually held a technical structure, holding some higher lows and holding a bit of a trend through all of that. It was able to hold on to the trend longer, which once you see that, There's your example. It's only it was trending up. It's only falling because of what happened in the other fintechs. Only falling for that reason. So maybe you go into the long bouncing off VWAP or whatever it might be. Then the other side of the coin would be, well, if it just continues selling off into the lows on that headline and you don't think it makes any sense, there's your opportunity to swing it. The algos just never put the bid back in. You're calling fugays, crypto is strong, hood's related to that, and then you can jump in. And that's sort of the thing that we've seen traders do, where they just wait. They wait around for something crazy to happen, and then once it does, they'll pounce. Think there's an overreaction. Google, Amazon could be an example of that on their the Prime Day headlines. Like every single time Amazon would drop heavily on those Prime Day, like early numbers, it would just get bought up heavily. So you just wait for it to get into those lows. Alphabet is a great example of that. Remember when you had the OpenAI browser story? The OpenAI browser, see this candle? What happened after that? Instantly, goes right into the prior day low, so you're just waiting. The algos drop the bid because that's what they do in a headline like that, and you're just waiting for liquidity to come back in at first support. And then you're just long somewhere in here and you hold it to make the reversion back. If you think the market is rigged, then you don't short this on that news. You wait for one thing to happen and one thing to happen alone. Is it going to hold that low? If the answer is yes, you play the long. And if it's no, then you don't make the trade. The problem with doing that, and it's not a problem, is you just might not make a lot of trades. But when you do get them, you might have some serious home runs. So there's always another way to do it, for sure, everybody. And SMR, yeah, now SMR wants to go down. But I wouldn't be in the money anyways. That's sort of the thing. Like, it would be, what, at the money? Like after it broke the high, so it had trended down for a bit, broke the high, like I'd be at the money right now if I just held on to the thing the whole way. So I can't even say it would be successful. I think Nvidia is breaking down though. So I might take another pot shot at NVDA here underneath the 164.50 level. That was the one with only about 30 minutes to go to the imbalances. You just gave an oh boy. What's with the oh boy?
Oh boy. 30 minutes until imbalances. Oh. I'm like, oh boy, I didn't even know.
No, I thought something was happening.
I mean, something's happening. The market's trying to turn. It's trying to curl.
It feels like
here, but again, not really. And I'm reading through the chat, having some conversations with people in the chat as well. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, because that's the only way you can participate in the beautiful community that we have going on here. And yeah, a lot of people. Again,
what's the oh boy count?
Asking questions. Oh boy count? I don't know. I don't think we're keeping an oh boy count, but yeah, I have only one thing to say to that, Neil, and that's oh boy. So anyways, AMD coming into 146s. That level was pretty well defended here earlier with a little bit of a bid coming up. So let's see if it can come in. Market tailwind, I'm looking for you, but the sale's not looking too full right now with only a little bit of a creeping action down into these lows here on the Nasdaq. That's what I'm looking at a little bit closer because I am short AMD. But like I said, not even in, I guess, much less than even 1% of what I had. Well, less than 1% than what I had coming into this right here. And somebody in the chat, I think it was Bobo in the chat, was asking, oh, what made me short 147.52 on AMD when the day high is 147.59? Guess what? A little bit of luck. I tried it multiple times over and over again whenever I see kind of sellers kind of stepping in or when I think I like it relative to the stuff that I look for. And then eventually I do get it. But again, it still didn't give me what I was looking for. It still didn't crack the bid that I was looking for. So when that happens, I just take what you can get and move on to the next trade. So that's what I'm kind of looking at right now. And again, we were also talking about in the chat about algos, guys, you don't have to fight the algos. If you're trying to fight algos, it's a losing battle. You want to be able to sidestep them. And I said in the chat, I was like, I don't want to get in the way. I might want to sidestep or even front run a little bit if I kind of see them doing stuff over and over again, because algos can have very repetitive action. For example, an example would be, if we're holding a very simple example would be if we're holding a moving average, and whenever you see price come into that moving average, there's reserves that show up. There's a single gate. Buddies just keep on buying it over and over again or selling it over and over again, holding that moving average. You're like, okay, well, there's clearly algos on this moving average. So how can you use that piece of information to your advantage? One, if you're trying to fight the algos, you're probably going to be like, well, these guys are buying, I'm going to try to sell to them and break them. You're probably, I don't know if that's, yeah, good luck, exactly, good luck with that. What you can do, sidestepping or joining the action can be, okay, well, they keep on buying this area. When they come back, I want to observe and get with them so that we can buy together. That's one way of doing it. Or just waiting for them to get out of the way. You see that it keeps on holding that moving average every time that price comes into a place, and you see reserves and you see unnatural action kind of pull up, and then that suddenly stops to happen. Guess what? Now those algos are now gone, so maybe you have another piece of information, a relative difference to now make a decision off of. So it's like different ways you can use it. If you were thinking, oh, this is a PvP game, so I got to go in there and fight. No, it's more about playing defense than it is offense.
I 1,000,000% agree with that. And the whole point of like, don't fight it. Every trader, at least once in their career, has been, I shouldn't say every trader, but a lot of traders have at least seen a situation where they're looking at a stock or they're in a trade, and they're just like, at this level right here, if I could just take this out, it's gone. But you're just not. You can't do it. You can't do it based on your risk to reward. I remember saying there was one time I was sitting there. I'm like, if you could, and it wasn't even an expensive stock. This was a stock that was under $5, and I remember this is years and years ago. I'm like, there's $1 million on this offer, and if you just hit this for $1 million, it's free money because nobody thinks it's going to move the tick. And I remember, and then so you're sitting there looking at it, and look, I was in the position, so like, no, I'm not going to act like I didn't make any money on this, but I did. But I saw somebody swipe it, and it's sitting there. I'm like, I was accumulating a position, but I ain't no million shares. And then when they swiped it, it was gold, but at the time, like, there's just no chance I could have taken that risk, and that's part of the game.
I love seeing that, because
oh my God.
You know what I call it? I recently kind of thought about it like couple months ago. I mentioned on the show as well. I call it buying the odds. If you have the ability to take out that level and you think with conviction, you're like, if this goes, then the probability of this happening increases drastically. And if it makes sense to put on that risk, like you said, you have to have that risk in order to play that game. And if you're able to play that game, there are 100% players that play that game.
And like, here's the thing. The reason, what I'm getting at is, if I had punched into it and that order had been reserved, I would have been instantly shut down. Like, just the tick against me, like, just literally, if it did not tick up after I hit, I would be shut down and my clock would be up. So like, I can't take the trade. Now, I've been in a position where that's not true and I punched a level because if it doesn't go, I can still hold it. And then hopefully it does go. But let's just go back to trading for a quick little second. Like, I think the futures are trying to go here. I'll be a little bit tighter with the stop, but I still like this notion on Nvidia as I fight a sneeze again, seriously. I still like this notion on Nvidia. Like, this is the one level, 164.5 that I'm trying to play off of. I'm really trying not to. I know when you do the breathing as well. So I'm taking a second shot at it. I don't want to give it as much room here, because it's almost 330, so I'll probably have a bit of a tighter stop and not give it almost all the way to 165 like I did last time. So yeah, just jumping right back into this. I think there's room to at least get us down underneath the 164 level. There we go. See, boom. What's up now, sneeze? It's not going to happen. All right, so I want us to get through VWAP in here and then break down underneath the 164. Tesla just cannot get going. Just when I want Tesla to go this afternoon and maybe retake some of where it was breaking out in the morning, and we're like, yeah, this is going to be the Tesla rally because the market's running out of steam and Tesla, which was weak, will get strong. Nope. This ends up being the reversion short. I think the reversion of the reversion is the play.
Hey man, I've been calling that out since I don't even remember, because like, I like the reversions. And then the reversion of the reversion, and sometimes you can even revert that reversion as well. So, yeah.
Top VoIP, you've been asking about MP materials multiple times.
And we got MP and JPM we got to cover.
Yeah, JP Morgan earnings tomorrow. Join Adair and I. We can definitely preview some of the bank earnings.
Ew.
Actually, let me I might just want to set that one up in a quick little second, because we can talk about some bank earnings for sure. And we'll definitely talk about that in the aftermarket show. That's a good thing to lean into. But MP, oh, please go. Now, granted, I'm a little disappointed with this because on this day, It's frustrating. I was like, yeah, I think MP Materials is going to turn into a good buy. I had no idea there'd be a DOJ deal the day after. I was sitting, I put a stink bid in my account to buy it in front of the 50-period moving average myself. So I was bidding 28 something. I think 28.22 or 28.42. Either way, I've canceled it. I put that bid in on this day, on the 9th, and then just watched it go on the 10th. The problem is, I mean, let's be real, like that's not, like it just sort of, like the news hit and just like gapped all higher. Like there was just no chance to get into it. But look at the nice higher, like consolidation, higher low, higher low. We breaking out? I think it's going to break out. Top VoIP, they got another DoD deal. I did not know that. I thought it was just the one DoD, Department of Defense deal for MP, but another 8% to the upside. I think they're the only game in town. The issue for them and why it's such a big deal that they get help and get funding is the refining capacity at the end of the day for rare earth metals. Like they're still having to send it out. So like to be able to develop that in the US would be huge for them, and you need money. And so they just need to raise money. And then remember, the short float's like 25%. That's the other side of this. That's the other side of this coin. 25% short float, at least the last time I checked. So I love the breakout here. I just wish I could have got into this in the 30s. Maybe I nibble into it and take like 10 or 15% of what I would have bought down here and play the break in my personal account. That's the only way I'd play it, because there's no way I'd get a full, like I'm not buying a full long-term position in this up at like $50. Not going to do it. Dara?
I looked into MP. There is no new deal today other than last week's deal with the Department of Defense. However, Canaccord Genuity did raise their price target for MP from $27 to $55 today, citing the Department of Defense deal. So the deal did, I guess, kind of impact an price target increase this morning. However, we didn't actually get any more deals or more information on the existing deal with regards to MP and the Department of Defense. Back to you.
And what was crazy was we come in the morning and that stock was just gapped up. And it's like, you should be excited about it. And people in the chat are like, great call on MP. I'm like, what do you mean great call? I'm not in this stupid thing. Oh, great stock. Congratulations, Teddy. Here, we got to. Let's go, MP. MP is doing it well. It represents Queens, but it was raised out in Brooklyn.
Yo, yes.
No?
What? No, I know what you're referencing. I'm not familiar with the songs as well as you are. Yeah, no, something else I'm watching that I was involved in the morning is Hood. And that got all the way to the day's lows, and then now just consolidating on top of 99s and now 100. So again, aggressive action coming in off of the open, a little bit of a chop and churn, and looking back at it, yeah, maybe the best opportunities were in the morning session right here. Some strong reasons to sell up here in the 101s, maybe some strong reasons to buy here in the 99 halves as well. And it gives you that move a couple of times before kind of dissipating and kind of coming back into the day low. But right now, ripping up into that $100 mark. But again, every time it's gone to VWAP from the midday session or even close to it, we've seen some selling and kind of a push, an attempt back towards day lows at 99. So let's see how that one closes. We only have about 32 minutes until this session is coming to a close. But yeah, no, market's still consolidating and grinding. Since when is this? Since 1 o'clock, oh boy. So for the past couple of hours, these markets have been pretty much doing nothing. Sideways grind, sideways consolidation, maybe a little bit of a trend in the grind. But yeah, nothing really that I'm seeing that's like jumping out to me and being like, oh, this is a trade for you. No, nothing like that for me.
Which is fine.
Which is perfectly fine. I think, again, where is the next trade is one of the best questions that you can ask. But if there is no trade, then you have to be able to sit on your hands as well. So I think that's another big part of it. But until then, we can talk markets, we can kind of look at price action, we can look at charts. So be sure to kind of put that up in the chat. And of course, Nimrod, thank you for the 10 live TraderTV Live gift memberships. So thank you very much for that. I see people picking that up in the chat as well. So thank you. Shout out to Nimrod for doing that well.
Always a good friend of the show. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good.
super positive, Nimrod, giving great ideas out there, sharing with the community, and then sharing the memberships as well. And I see a lot of people sharing hymns going. Okay, so this is not going to be like some kind of a flat top break on hymns. The breakout that I want to see happen on hymns is going to be the consolidation of the 50 period and the breakout over the 50 period moving average. Like, see how it's respecting the 50 on this bounce? Yeah, I want to see it just give up that 50 period. It's going to have to break 52 before that happens, but this looks very, very juicy. It's tricky up here. Like I have a rule, especially in the afternoon, do not punch long into overhead resistance, especially, like it's one thing building inventory into the top when there's time for it to go. But to me, you don't build inventory at 3:30. You do that in the morning. Like in the morning, sure, this kind of a setup, you could be long into here, awaiting a breakout up there because there's so much time for it to break both and go to 55. But in the afternoon, do I think it's going to 55? No, this thing just went $5 today. Like my rule precludes me from going into this long, but there is usually nothing wrong with, well, instead of waiting for it to break this top, just kind of take this long in here. That way you're in the money when it gets to the top, and you can ask yourself if you want to add to it or not. That said, I always find that a little bit tricky at this time of day. Nvidia is trying to go, and have taken a few pot shots at this, and ultimately, I get it. I could take the one short and just say it's going to work and hold it forever, and it would be working, but that's not my style of trade. I'm looking for us to get down into this 163.80 level here as Nvidia finally starting to roll over and accelerating a bit. You got the Nasdaq, which is picking up. I'm just going to go to the Qs so you can see the Nasdaq picking up steam here. There you go. So we just broke a little bit of a shelf on the Qs. That's what I think can get us going. Is it going to be a complete flush? Nah, I think it's just a slow grind to the upside where you break a little trend, lose a shelf, and head down to the next one. That'll get us, on the Qs, that'll get us 50, 60, maybe even like $1, I guess. It could go all the way to the volume weighted average price. That'd be absolutely fine. And then this Tesla, Nvidia trade could work out. Like, why am I saying Tesla? It's because I just looked up and saw Tesla on the radar. But again, you're just looking for that next opportunity. Nvidia set up, so we jump back over into Nvidia. And if there's something else, Zach asking about TMC, the metals company.
Oh, wow.
What is this thing doing?
Oh yeah, that's another one. It's the same sector as MP. Yeah.
But it looks like that's just probably MPs going and squeezing. So again, the algos hit the other one, the offer lifts on the other one, and it continues to go. I kind of like MP better, but this is actually doing just great. Extended from the 50 period moving average. Where's my 200? Does this not have? There you go. That's super extended. This is probably a way too big of a short. Probably a huge short float name. I'm not familiar with the short float on this. I do know MPs in the mid-20s, and I just like them a little bit better. But this looks great as well. Maybe this can squeeze. If MP keeps going, for those that some people don't like to trade $50 stocks. Maybe this is the one. If MP breaks out tomorrow or late today, this could be something that you go look at. But I just like MP. I would stick to that one. But volume picking up there, it's only okay volume, like 10 million shares on a $7 stock, and MP is 20 million shares on a $48 stock. Obviously, we know which one is the bigger player. And I like usually following those. I'd be careful. Like if MP starts falling down, you might see some reversion come into the metals company. Just be careful with that.
Someone say reversion?
Yes, I said reversion.
Hey.
I keep saying Tesla when I mean to say Nvidia. I don't even know why. So Nvidia rolling through the volume weighted average price. I'm just looking for, and the reason why I'm saying 163.8 should be kind of obvious. Like the open, like right off the open, it bounced at 163.7, and then this move at VWAP held that same level. So that's where I think we can play to next on Nvidia. So we'll wait to see if it can hold under VWAP after 3:30, which means we can look at the early look imbalances. Everybody.
Oh. What do we got?
PCG, 2 million sell.
Stellantis.
Stellantis for 1.5 to sell already. Interesting. It doesn't usually have an imbalance. BBAI's from the morning. That's why I leave the time up there so you can see it. And that's Stardust stock. That's from the morning as well. So you can see 9:30. The only ones they're updating for the afternoon are like PCG and Stellantis. Not a heck of a lot. SGov, RY. We'll check back in closer to 350 and at 350 to see what the big ones are. And there's always a possibility Nvidia could have one, in which case I would tighten my stop up for sure.
I'm just reading the chat here. The incredible Mr. Lib saying, Obi, 0 TGT sitting on a 365-day point of control, 104.46, coming up on a liquidity zone with no walls, volume through 115, 120. Great setup to play a two-fold swing. So I think you mean on Target. So let's take a quick look at that Target here. So I haven't really been looking at consumer discretionaries here as much, but again, with that earnings season on the horizon, maybe worth taking a look at some of this as well. So what did you say? Sitting on a 365-day point of control, so POC. So we're talking about volume profiles for those of you who are wondering what a point of control might be. So that's sitting at 104.46. So we're sitting on that right now. Nice little consolidation happening here as well. And the incredible Mr. Lib is saying, coming up on a liquidity zone with no walls, volume through 115, 120. So yeah, let's see if we can get volume through 115, 120. Let's go to a higher time frame, just check this chart out here as well and see what may be sitting there. Oh, this is nice. Right here, a little bit of a grind up, which seemed to be from those April lows. We're seeing a bit of a pattern there. A lot of stocks kind of coming up from their April lows. Yeah, it could be interesting if it kind of gets all the way back up to 120s here. Yeah, no real kind of too strong of a resistance showing up until that 120 right away. You can see a strong volume flush on that earnings from, when is this, November of 2024 there. And yeah, a little bit of a support that happened just shy of that 120. And yeah, a little bit of a free fall from there. Yeah, cool. Nice idea there. Thank you, Mr. Lib, for sharing that. Oh, but right now.
And at the end of the day, like maybe you're looking for some indicators that might take your trading game to another level. Well, if you are, then you get 1 month free over at eSignal. Check them out. They've got reliable data. They've got every indicator, API access. You're able to trade directly through them on multiple brokers. And the value, I think, sometimes too, is that they have an entitlement-based system, so you can add which markets you want, dump the ones that you don't, add features you want, and get rid of ones that you don't, so that you find customization, level of customization that fits your personal trading style. Maybe you don't need level 1X. Maybe you're a swing trader. You don't even need level 2. Maybe that's your game. Like, that's absolutely fine. You can try them out. It's 1 month free. Everybody, as I said, it's reliable, real-time market data. Shout out to eSignal. We always say trade harder, trade smarter, not harder. Well, eSignal is a good way to be able to do that. Check them out. Scan the QR code you see out in front of you, link in the description, and get your 1 month free. If you don't like it, you can always turn it off. And we use eSignal around here, and traders have been using it for a very, very long time. So it's something that we can say with confidence. And as I look at eSignal right here, everybody, look what's happening. Well, I can tell on this daily chart, Palantir is at another all-time high. Stock just keeps going and going and going and going. And you're absolutely right, Mike DeRider. Trading is better done when done together. And anybody who's traded on a floor is obviously going to feel that way. I've had the good fortune, obviously, to have been blessed to have only really traded on the floor. Even during COVID, we were here and we're always sort of trading with other like-minded traders, or traders that just maybe they didn't have the same strategies. You could always talk through your ideas. Yeah. You can work through all of your, whatever it's problems or just notions, ideas, things that you see, you can run past somebody else, say, hey, well, what did you see here when Palantir was breaking 149? Like those types of things. So that's why we're here. That's the entire point behind it, because trading is hard enough already when you have to do it alone. But Palantir, someone had asked, what do we do at 150? Well, if it breaks 150 this afternoon, I don't think I take it, because it's already 340. It would likely be after the imbalances or right into them. So I think I would stay away from that break. If it happens tomorrow, I'll probably grit my teeth and take the trade. But, and there's a but, just because I'm taking a breakout trade does not mean you don't have to die with that trade. You don't. Like you can, like Tesla's a good example of a breakout. Robinhood's an example. Like some of these things early where they reverse, like I would never let 150 do this to me. It's just no. Like let's say you were in 38 and 18 and 19 were better on Tesla. Let's say you're in the 20 break. I would never let this 20 break ruin my day. That's not what you do with breakout trades. They're meant to go and go right away. and then work them. So I always have a relatively tight stop on the breakout trades. It's just easier to play them in that direction. That way, if it goes right away, you're fantastic. I did not look at Rocket Lab today for those that are asking. I mean, I don't want to hit the moon thing again, but Rocket Lab is at the high of the day and up 10%, so that kind of does work. Ooh, Nvidia just came back up to VWAP. Sorry, I'll get to Rocket Lab in a quick little second, but Nvidia did not follow through past 64. So at this time of day, I'll just trail it out. Obviously, that's the one that stunk. That was the bigger. This is the, like, when it breaks that floor the first time from this level here, that's the one where I want it to go. I want that flush to just immediately go. That's one where I'm going to risk like 30, 40 cents, and I want it to go that dollar immediately. Later on in the session where there's less time for it to go, you just got to trade it a little bit differently. But back to Rocket Labs, RKLB. Wow. Wow is the only way to think about this.
Is it daily?
Yeah, that's the daily on Rocket Labs. This is absolutely
Living up to its name.
Oh, 100% it's living up to his name. It's just like it's a squeeze play in a certain sense. You don't think about this in terms of like proper valuation or anything. This is pure momentum right now in Rocket Labs. I want to double check to see what the I want to double check to see what the actual short float is on this because I'm not familiar off the top of my head. Just bear with me as I'm pulling it up so I can find the short float on Rocket Lab for you. That can't be right. It's only 15%. That's it.
What's the float?
No, the short float's 15%. The float is 54 million.
Okay.
It's not a gigantic.
Decent.
It's done 25 million today.
Yeah,
but you know what? Why would it be as big as I'm thinking when it's breaking out like this? If it was as big as I thought when the chart looks like this, then hedge funds would be really, really dumb. So like, yeah, it's actually probably reasonable. It was certainly in the 20s back when they were in control, and now they're just getting blown away. So this is a pure squeeze play. Pure squeeze play. Even if you like it in the long term, I don't know how you buy it up here on Rocket Labs. It's the same way I feel about MP. Like I want to be in MP. I probably will I'll probably just nibble into this break for a small position in my long-term account because I want to be in MP. I just can't chase things like this. It's not in my DNA. And some people can. I just can't do it.
Getting that alarm now for imbalances.
Right.
So 342. It's 342 right now. I just want to address something in the chat. I think it was somebody in the chat. Scroll back up because I got to call them out right here. Raheel Anwar saying, betting on Intel for earnings, ? Neil Roberts and Obi. So I have a response to that, and that's this. Gambling, we don't do that here. So betting on stocks pre-earnings. I don't know if you have anything to say about that, Neil, but I don't know if that's really a trade.
I've actually never swung something
through earnings,
before earnings with the intention of betting on it. I've bought a stock because I wanted to own the thing before.
And you hold through earnings.
I've bought a stock. I've had a swing trade maybe in something because it was a technical break that I liked or a setup that I liked that happened to go through earnings. Like but I've never, in my whole life, at least I'm 99%, I've never done it. Where I'm just buying it because I hope the next earnings are a turnaround for the stock. I think if you're playing Intel, you're playing it because you think the bottom's in. And it can't do worse at this point. And that 18, 19 level, or at least somewhere under the 20, that's it. And this is the turn. And eventually everything's going up, so it's got to go as well. Like that's all. Like I think that's why you're in Intel at this moment. So like I hope you print. I'll keep it as simple as that. And I still own some Intel, not as much as I did when I was buying how far can I go back here? I don't want to move from a daily chart here. So I was a 25 buyer. Like, here we go. I don't have to go too far back. Like, I was a 25 buyer in here. And that was the most aggressive I've ever been at any point in my life on Intel was around the 25 level. And you'll say, well, that was great. Well, just pull up any other stock at that time. Right? Like, it's not, like, it seems like it was great based on the move, but you're not seeing me do cartwheels because just buy some better tech stock in that moment, and you'd see why it wasn't the best trade ever because you could have had anything and it would have been good. But I just think it's bottoming out, gambling on their earnings. Yeah, good luck. Maybe you have a reason to do it. It's just not, again, it's just not my cup of tea. How much time we got here? Palantir might break it's already at the quarter, 149 and a quarter Palantir. And the imbalance is still pretty much a nothing burger on the imbalances.
We could probably push that 150 going into the close.
It could break the 150.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to pull that
I forgot to mention that TROO stock. True. Held 150 after all. So it's somehow not completely falling apart. It's holding up just underneath the volume weighted average price. I still wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole, but it did not completely fall apart after that fourth down halt. Not that it's any good, it's just that it didn't really drop all the way back into a buck, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was there tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I instantly, when you said that, when you brought up that Palantir, I have brought it up now going into the close, because I think that could pose us with a potential opportunity here. And because it might pose a potential opportunity, we have to make sure that we're poised to take on such opportunity as well. So let's keep on watching this one. 149.25s. Let's see if we can hold the quarter, print the halves, and then go to the next quarter to print the whole. That's what I'm waiting for. And oh boy, guess what, Neil? It's funny enough, AMD actually got down to that 146 right as I went up to go to the bathroom, which was absolutely funny, the timing of that. And then it rips right back up 30 to 40 pennies, 50 pennies, pretty much on the retrace off of that 146 hold, and that's what I was looking for initially. And I was like, oh boy, that was, sometimes you have very expensive, or no, it wasn't that expensive this time, but sometimes you have very expensive bathroom breaks, I would say.
You have no idea.
Yeah, no, just, I'm sure you have stories. I'm sure you have stories. There's literally like, some traders are just like, yeah, I went to go buy groceries and I was sitting, long or short on this, and I just had to go. And then boom, six-figure loss.
No, I got it. It's better than that, because it could have, like, in theory, it's like it would have been better if I hadn't been sitting down.
Yeah.
If I had been sitting down. At our old office, when Sean and I had our own trading floor, the office building we were in, it wasn't one of those where you had like a bathroom in your suite, so you had to leave the office and there was a bathroom on the floor. Well, you get up in the middle of the day, you're physically leaving, and if something happens, someone would have to come get you, let's just say. So I went to the bathroom in the middle of the day to fight, whatever, I'm not going to get anything. I come back, and the stock that I was trading heavily, I was doing a lot of volume on this stock. It was in the morning. I was long it most of the time. I was doing pretty well on it. And the CEO had been indicted in the company.
Okay.
And the headline had come in while I was in the bathroom. And the only way I'm just trying to explain it this way. Imagine this is the chart. Like, see this move down in Nvidia? Like, just imagine like I'm like the A dude or like the dude who's like long as this is just working. And then the CEO, and he was like, imagine this is not really stock. Imagine this happens. Boom. But then imagine it does like it only for a few minutes and then it comes right back in. Why? Because it was known that he was going to be indicted for months in advance, and it was just a crazy algo move. So had I been there and sitting down, I might have I might have just like taken the hit and punched out like a chump. But instead, I came back and I'm like, oh, well, that was interesting. This just went against me in the time I went to the bathroom, like 5 times the biggest loss I've had this month, and it's right back to break even. Well, I'm just chilling now because it trapped a bunch of shorts. I just sat in the long the rest of the day and was a great winner. That being said, that's complete dumb luck because I happen to need a bowel movement at that moment. So anyways, sometimes you get lucky with that and your bathroom breaks will make you money. Most of the time, something like that happens, you're going to lose. Have stops. It's a good reason to have stops. I didn't particularly use stops on that stock like that at that time. It's just in certain strategies, if you're aggressive with your market making and your size, you don't always want to be throwing stop orders for a certain size around out there because it can get a little dangerous. Yeah. You'd almost better, like if it breaks a level, I'd rather manage the position myself. It is generally the way I would consider it there. That said, if you're absolutely getting up and not going to be there, then a stop order is good. And they can really save you.
No, there are times where I intentionally get up, right?
Save you.
I will get into a position and I'm like, I understand why I'm in here. I understand where I'm wrong. I understand where I want to potentially get out, and maybe I'll put out an order to get a little bit out with the stop in the market as well. And I'll just go for a walk, go to the park, go for a walk and come back. And at that point, I've accepted the result of that trade already. It's just being like, okay, I'm more than willing to lose on this. I've put on my risk, and I'm willing to kind of put that to work. So that's, again, distinctly different from, you're just like, oh damn, I got to get up and use the bathroom or go grab some food or just go get a coffee, and then the move you were looking for happens, and then you're just like, well, damn, now my risk has changed, or maybe for in this case here, now I have to cover 40 pennies away from where that bounce was when it's only dropped like $1.50, right? So it's just like, all right, well, maybe not the best, but imbalances right now, Neil.
And we've got, nothing too crazy. Rig, really? That thing, 2.6 million to the sell side. Again, the small name, IQ, 2 million, that's another $2 stock. Wow, there's really nothing much on the imbalance locator. T, that's not going to move the needle anywhere. Where's the single Mag 7 name? Snapchat's only 900,000 to the buy side. These are all incredibly tiny. There's finally, Tesla's a buy of 800,000. I mean, that's not Tesla for 800,000. If that's the biggest of the Mag 7 name, that's a nothing burger. The market is a 189 million buy. The NQ, 1.2 million to sell, which is essentially nothing. The Mag 7, 162 million to buy. This is, like, Apple's a small buy at 650,000. So there's really nothing on the locator this morning. And that's sort of the thing. You do not want to overtrade in situations like this, everybody. Not a heck of a lot going on. Like, you could have had some small reversion off the top. A couple of the chips were able to give it to you. Or maybe you were playing longs. I think some of the energy name, Palantir would be a good example of something in a larger tech stock, which would have given you some juice, or like the Oklos, Oklos, and the SMRs. See, now I'm gonna be good enough to correct myself on that. But Tesla with a small buy imbalance of like 790,000 barely moves. Like, it just, like 50 cents maybe Tesla just went on that imbalance. So if you were trying to play for the bigger move on Tesla, it's even likely to pair off as well. I would tend to agree with stuck traders saying Palantir is the one. Palantir, I think, is going to be the one.
It's holding really well.
One way or another, for better or for worse, Palantir feels like the one tomorrow. Breaking out the top, the 150 level. Like, here, like, if you're a breakout trader through the top, like the Tesla breakout today, or whether you want the mean reversion if it fails the 150 like Robinhood, whichever style you have, it just feels like that's going to be the thing tomorrow here on Palantir. 5% to the upside, and it's not like there was even any big catalyst today. It's just a good stock, which is squeezing people, and the more people don't believe it, then the worse it gets for the shorts. That's the issue. Like, the more improbable or nonsensical it is, then, and for Obi, this trend line, the bottom trend line always saves. The top, I feel like it's like on purpose that it's not saving the top because there is no top. It's like it's saving the bottom because we should all be buying it on the trend line, but it's not going to save the top because we don't want anyone to go short off the top here and get burned. No, I have no idea why what's happening. I keep having to redraw it, but this channel is unabated. And I see no reason why when I head to the top of that channel, tomorrow my play is almost certainly going to be 150 break with room to the top of the trend line high, which will probably be about 155. Yeah. Hopefully we get it.
Yeah, I mean, you show me that, I'm like, if we're opening up anywhere near 155 where it's the trend range resistance, I like that. Maybe potential time for a reversion back down to the lower end of that range as well, right? So it's just like it's had healthy kind of action, kind of a chop and churn, and right now currently trading at 49 halves. So against the high of day is 149.53 half. I'm seeing that's probably going to change very, very soon as we're pushing right up into these 149 half. So again, with the market pulling back, Palantir looking distinctly different. Again, more often than not, you see Palantir kind of in step with the rest of the market here, as I think it has if I remember correctly, a beta of 2. Well, it's probably changed significantly last time I checked. Last time I checked, it was like 2.6, 2.7. The beta on Palantir. I think you were.
Why don't they have the beta here?
Okay, so I can definitely look it up in seconds here, but
these guys don't have
something interesting just to note, right? It's just like
I should have checked.
It's probably a little different right now, but it's looking different than the rest of the market. So the beta I have here is 2.59. Boom, off by 0.01. All right, so I guess it hasn't really changed too much in the past couple of weeks there. No, I just got lucky there. Oh, wow, SMCI actually came back all the way down. That's interesting here. But guess what? That's probably for later because no trade there. The trade I'm watching right now, Neil, is Palantir. And here, going into the last 20 seconds before some of these imbalances pair on the 55-minute mark, we're getting some shake and bakes happening.
Remember, there weren't the imbalances weren't that big, so there's not much to pair. There was a small buy on Tesla of 800K, so like maybe watch again. Tesla moved like maybe 60 or 70 cents, so it's really not that big of a deal. Not like anything's popping up, but maybe something jumps in at 355, which nothing did. So it's still nothing big over that million shares. I don't even see Tesla. Like Tesla probably paired off there. I don't even see it on the list anymore. So clearly that buy and balance on Tesla would have at least somewhat paired, but you're not going to have any crazy, like it's just not doing anything crazy. Slight move, catching a bid. Look, I'm gonna like the fact that Tesla's catching a bid, but unfortunately, I wanted this holding above. Let me zoom this. Here we go. I wanted this holding above that 319 area. Still good. Still good. Still good. We held on to the prior low, so the prior day high. So that's a positive sign there for Tesla. But I don't want it to just do a nice consolidation higher. I want Tesla when it's breaking out. So I think maybe I'll probably have the same two levels tomorrow on Tesla the way it traded today, and just keep it simple. But Palantir, well, I hate to be the jinx, but it didn't seem likely we'd break 150 today. And Palantir just bounced off 149.5 to come back in. So maybe we get that 150. Selfishly, I want it to break tomorrow because then we can trade it. Because we're not taking a trade at the end of the day here on PLTRs. Selfishly, I wanted it to break tomorrow anyways. That's just me. You know what's going to happen now, Obi?
What's going to happen?
Oh, it's just going to gap above 150.
Of course, we're definitely not going to get those prices in the intraday there. It'll
gap above. Let's see. It'll hold here. It'll gap above, break 150 at like 6 a.m. When everyone's on their way to the office, and then, then we'll chase it the second time. It'll shake us out, but then we'll get it the third time. It'll go to 155. That's the play for Palantir tomorrow. Only about 3 minutes to go.
Keep it a little spicy for us.
No, farm trader. Silky smooth. I'm being facetious with that. I say it like selfishly. We want that break to happen when we can trade as day traders, but.
More often than not, that's not going to.
No, it's not going to happen always, but I want everyone to print at the end of the day. And here's the thing, who cares? Like, what I say doesn't really matter on that case. What's going to happen is what's going to happen. As a trader, you just react to it. You take the trade that's out there in front of you. I just want it to be 150. If it's not there, then we trade something else on Palantir. If anyone that's already long, congratulations. Good luck to you for sure holding it overnight. Stan, remember Palantir huge down at the end? Well, I remember a couple of weeks ago, you were on here when Palantir had that random sell imbalance.
Oh, that was wild. Yeah. That was on a Friday, I think.
That was on the Friday. That was at the month end, I believe. It was a month end.
Rebalances.
Window cleaning, it was just insane.
Dude, what was crazy that I found out later, and that was a huge miss on my part, but that was $4 billion to sell.
Yeah.
Research. And did you see the open as well? It was like, yeah, of course. You think they did $4 billion on the close? They probably did some off the open, some into the close, dude. With the way that action went. I don't know. I got to look into more about how those players that are doing those imbalances kind of conduct their business. But yeah.
So this was the open.
Yeah. Look at that.
On Palantir.
Slapped on the open, slapped on the close.
And again, like you just don't see that very often, and then it comes right back in to those highs. Well, I'm gonna get on up to the desk, mosey on up to the desk. We got Michael Noss coming through with Dara, myself, and the market recap show. We'll go over all the nonsense. We got bank earnings starting tomorrow, and hopefully Palantir breaking to 150. Maybe it does it in the aftermarket. Yeah. I don't know, but we're going to find out soon. All right.
Within range. Thank you very much,
Good luck there, Obi, hanging on to that AMD into the close, and I'll see you guys up at the desk.
Yeah, thank you very much, Neil. Again, dropping some solid wisdom today, some Neilage for sure, if you want to go back and kind of review some of the topics and the lessons that Neil has been covering on the day today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself. I should probably get out of this position right now, and because we only have about a minute left. I was was looking for that 146 to potentially come in. Funny enough, that does come in with a little bit of a low into the 90s, 145 and 90s, while, again, like I said, while I was kind of getting up. But it is what it is. It just took the rep for holding it. Not what I was looking for. I was looking for a more of a distinct flush, a little bit lower here, back into VWAP, of course, and we didn't necessarily get that on the time frame that I was looking for, and that's perfectly fine. Where is the next trade? That's what I'm asking. And guess what, guys? Probably not anymore for me today. I'll be back here tomorrow, bright and early, 8:30, right here with Neil. So join us then. But as of right now, don't go anywhere because we got about 10 seconds for the bell here. Let's see, I got to get that countdown just right. Boom, there we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, sometimes you gotta switch it up, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Adara. And thank you all for joining us today for another great trading day here. Solid start off to the week. We saw some great opportunities, some interesting momentum right off of the open. Tesla, XAI, are they going to merge? Oh my God, a little bit crowded off of the open. Yes, arguably. And we kind of sold off as well. Similar kind of idea with a lot of the crypto names. Again, Bitcoin gapping up past the 120s. And yeah, I was looking for the long, and I'm sure everybody was looking for that long coming into the open. And guess what? We did a bit of a reversion coming in. And you can see that same kind of sentiment reflected on Bitcoin's chart on the 15-minute since the opening of the North American markets, which is also an interesting piece of confluence there. So again, some solid opportunities. Going to do a little bit better with kind of extracting them again tomorrow. But the market was hella strong today for a majority of the day. That morning shake and bake definitely, exchanged some hands. But you know what it is? It is what it is. So that's all I'm going to say on that. AMD still kind of holding. PLTR not at 150 just yet, so going to continue watching that one. I'm going to put up an alert later tonight, but maybe we'll get it tomorrow. But right now, don't go anywhere, guys. We got Adara and Neil with the market recap. It's earnings season again starting tomorrow. Take it easy.
Welcome to the Market Recap Show, brought to you by Beta Pro, coming from Global X. So shout out to them. And hey, it was all about crypto when we sat down here this morning.
Was
Adara,
it ever? Yeah.
100%. It was Bitcoin hit 123. It was breakout. All the names were going nuts. And then it was everything but them once the open hit. So, unfortunately, it was one of those days, and you never really know how the reaction is going to be. And when it's a 24-hour market like the crypto market is, just because we open up, it doesn't mean you're going to get that continuation. Sometimes it's just a bit of an exhaustion. It ended up being selling. Overall, kind of a consolidated day for the indices, but there was a lot of strength up there. You saw at the end of the day, Palantir with another all-time high. Somebody has got to count them up because I'll just make up a number. The 23rd time this year Palantir makes I have no idea what the actual number is, but let's just say it's the 23rd time that it's made an all-time high. But certainly 5% up for PLTR, one of the strongest names out there for sure. Bit of a mixed bag for something like Tesla. Well, they may not be investing in XAI, but they did manage to rise today. Only 1% because, as we're pointing out, Tesla decided that it wanted to revert the big breakout that was happening at about 9:30. So a bit of disappointment there for Tesla. But one thing that was super strong, you're going to see URA up today. You're going to see SMR with a big power move, OKLO with a power move, GEV, Go, G, Verona, and Vistra, and all those bad boys, because the nuclear names were explosive today there.
Yes, they were. We did have a post sort of to that effect from Chris Wright, who is, of course, the Treasury Secretary, Energy Secretary. It's been a day, guys. And he also does have a connection to one of these names. He was at one point, and I'm going to double check which one it was, but at one point he actually did serve on the board of Oklo. That's what it is. So he was on the Oklo board, of course, when he took the Secretary of Energy position. For very obvious reasons, he had to leave the board of Oklo. But yeah, interesting look there. CEG was the one I was looking at because this is just kind of my tea, if you will. This long into the close was pretty nice. It was kind of choppy, but interesting look here for Constellation Energy. That one, certainly a nice constellation to the upside. I can't even pun right now, guys, but Yeah, great little look here for CEG. Yeah, we didn't. It was interesting for news. We didn't really get any tariff-related updates. We got Donald Trump saying again that Powell is a knucklehead and not smart. So he called him a stupid guy. So yeah, other than that, I mean, we didn't really get no more tariff letters. I wonder when we're going to get the next tariff letter, if there are any more, because it was kind of alluded that we'd get a lot more than we have. I was looking at the tariff poster board. There are like 4, like on the White House X, there's basically 4 full pages of this, and each page is like, two-sided for these poster boards. So there are a lot of countries that we could theoretically get tariff letters for. We've only had like 25.
Exactly.
So that
There's
is very much
come.
still up in the air. I've noticed he likes to release them around like 12 p.m. or 4 p.m. And right now I can't even get into Truth Social, so thank you, Truth. But yeah, we'll see. That is, I think, something that could certainly be on watch.
I had that same problem with Truth because, like, let's be real.
It's terrible.
I only, as a trader, the only reason I even use Truth Social or have it up is to make sure as timely as possible that you're getting information. Like Adara could be, like, let's be real. We rely on Adara because Adara gets us all the news as quickly as possible, and it's very reliable. But hey, man, everyone gets up from the desk every now and then, and in those moments, I want to make sure I have it up, and sometimes it just doesn't want to load for me. Makes no sense. I don't know what the reason is, but I do want to jump to, it was Pug Life was asking ASML reports overnight. That's tomorrow. Sorry, it'll be Wednesday morning. So like overnight Tuesday. Early Wednesday morning is when ASML. Tomorrow the big earnings are going to be that we're going to get the banks coming through. JP Morgan, led by JP Morgan tomorrow morning. So that's the big earnings. And then ASML we're going to get the following day. We're jumping right back into earnings season. I think it should be pretty exciting. You actually had, like if you looked overall at some of the movement today, like you actually had a relatively solid day here. I'm talking about JP Morgan, up almost a full percent there. And then also, obviously, if you're looking at the actual indice, what was interesting about that JP Morgan and why I was saying it's almost a full percent was kind of impressive. XLF here on this daily chart. Sorry, on the daily and on 3-minute as well, but I want to go back to the daily chart. On the daily chart, we like pullbacks into prior highs. I'm not saying right before bank earnings you swing into this, but prior highs pull back into prior highs on the XLF. I'm not saying, I'm just saying this is set up pretty well for a nice rally to break out. Like if this breaks out, pulls bank earnings, that's kind of one of those roles that you almost just got to take if you can do that on the fundamentals of those bank earnings. So yeah, you're poised in a very good spot for the XLF. There were a few other things that were happening throughout the day that I want to just jump to. I know we just talked about the nuclear names very specifically, like the run up in Oklo and SMR. This will be on watch tomorrow. Very strong movement. 11% up when it comes to Oklo, 18% short float. SMR, New Scale Power, 24% short float and 12% to the upside. Of the two, not just because, look, I own it, Sean owns it in his personal account. That's not the reason I'll be looking at SMR tomorrow. It's this. SMR just a little bit stronger. Bigger short float, a little bit stronger into the high than OKLO was, just more likely to reach a breakout stage tomorrow is SMR. So that's probably the one that I would trade as a day trader, but it almost has to be on your radar. As a day trader, it's going to move, whether it's one direction or the other, reversion, breakout, you just want to be involved in these types of names. But Miami Dragon in the chat with the why the Nvidia dump. So there's no story happening here on Nvidia. There is a theme this week. There is a theme
I'll talk about that in a minute because I have thoughts on that. We can get to
because there is a theme this week. That being said, if you're wondering why did it fall at the end of the day today, like the best I could tell you is just zoom out a little bit and look at Friday in this 165 area. It was like 164.5. I came in thinking that 164.5 to 165, that was the go zone. It pressed through, immediately lost it at the open. Well, it just lost that support where the buying went into on the breakout on Friday and then where it dipped into in the afternoon. It just lost that support at the end of the day. I think you're getting a little bit of a technical breakdown based on that. And really, when you're at the all-time highs, people look for excuses to take a little bit of profit. So that's my 2 cents. It wasn't anything specifically what had just happened now, but a bit of a support break happening on Nvidia there.
So the thing with Nvidia is we do know that Jensen Huang has, I guess, said some things recently that are maybe not on the side of the U.S. government right now. And I'm not saying he's like intentionally going against the government, but even yesterday he was on, I think, CNN, and he was saying, well, I honestly, like, with regards to the worry of the Chinese military getting a hold of U.S. chips, he said, I don't even know why they would want to use U.S. chips. They know they can't rely on them due to sanctions and, of course, stuff like that, these curbs, these restrictions. So he said, if they don't view them as reliable, then why would they even be using these chips in the first place? So Jensen completely dismissing any and all, I guess, fears that China would be interested in these chips for military purposes. That also comes as some senators sent him a letter basically saying, hey, Jensen, make sure you're very careful about who you talk to when you're in China, because he is going to China. I think he'll be there as of Wednesday. I don't know. I'm not sure when he's leaving. But either way, some senators sent him a letter, said, hey, be careful when you're in China. Don't talk to anybody involved in the military. Don't tell them secrets. And I'm like, I think Jensen understands. He's an adult man. He's, leader of the first $4 trillion company in the world. But it's very interesting. And I think depending on what he says at this press conference on Wednesday, he could run the risk of alienating himself. And I think also this timing comes at a very key moment because he did, again, $4 trillion company status. Donald Trump touted the company's drop from, or pop, I guess, from Liberation Day, kind of attributing it to Liberation Day, the way he worded it, a little weird. But either way, it's very interesting. He meets with Trump, then he goes to China, second time this year. I think, honestly, I really respect what he has to do and what he has to say, and I think it'll be very interesting to see what the fallout from this is.
He's a smart dude.
100%.
And at the end of the day, Nvidia is the U.S.'s bargaining tool, everybody. So what? What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You can't live without them. And that's the whole story here. They can't live without them. They need, like, Nvidia's absolutely winning. And I think, Jensen, he's smart enough. I have zero concerns of Jensen pulling anything remotely looking like an Elon type of moment. It's just, I believe in the never say never, and I don't think that you should speak in certainties. The only thing I'm certain about is the unconditional love for my daughter. That kind of a thing. When you, yes, that's about it. But it's as close to a zero probability that Jensen is that type, in my opinion. So I'm not worried about that. I just think he's there to make sure that at the end of the day, they're able to give China something, A, for negotiation for the U.S., B, so that they don't sit there and make their own chips. They can just keep buying the inferior Nvidia and give them that lesser version of Blackwell and keep the party going. It's great for everybody, especially if you're an Nvidia shareholder, which we are. So we're all happy with that for sure. I know we're definitely gonna have Michael Noss coming through in just a little bit. The one thing that we didn't do when we sort of led the opening of the show here, and we were talking about the crypto rally and the gap up, and then the lack thereof intraday. It gives a reason you just didn't. I didn't even trade IBIT today. Bitcoin broke 120, went to 123. I didn't even trade IBIT today. Complete and utter disappointment. A bunch of the I guess we're calling them the stakeholder type plays. And then SBET spent most of the day bleeding off there, which was, well, I mean, okay, fine. It made a rally this morning, and then eventually spent most of the day bleeding off. Just disappointment when it came to the crypto space overall. And I'm beginning to wonder, I saw something at the end of the day here. Of all of the days, if you would tell me, Adara, that the day circle would go up 8% and trend up the entire day, and I'm ranting a little bit here because it's fine, we can do this, is the day that IBIT spent the day bleeding, that all the other custody names after an early rally just spent the rest of the day bleeding. I just feel like this is a trap on Circle.
Yeah.
Like a big, fat trap on Circle, the buying pressure that it had in today. And we'll see tomorrow, but if it gets back through that 200 to the downside, we pay for locates every day on this stock. You don't have to use them.
Yeah.
But this it just felt weird to me, and then it pressed more it actually pressed more at the end of the day to go 200 into 205. What is going on here in the midst of no strength in the overall crypto space? So we'll see if it gets through that big resistance. I think it's 210 or something.
Yeah.
210, but that one didn't make sense to me today.
Well, it didn't make sense to me either. And like, so one thing too is even if it's quote unquote squeezing, and I'll explain why I say this in a minute. A, it was still respecting a pretty steady uptrend, which is not usually what you see in a squeeze. And B, it still respected key levels. It had some resistance around 195. It did get very stressed out around said resistance. I took a scalp off of that. But so the point is, like, even if it is a squeeze, it's respecting levels in a way that makes me think this, I don't know. Basically, all it did today was just like undid all of the selling from Friday.
Yeah.
If you look at the daily, it's not that crazy. So like I said, I've been saying very open about this. I've been asking Neil for locates on this literally every day, and I will continue to do that until this stops being in play because I think it's a name worth having eyes on, and I don't want to make any biases or judgments until it shows me.
One day it's going to give you a $25 drop, and that day is coming in this month. Yeah, we have time left. There's still time left in this month. We also have a good friend of ours. We call him the Nos Boss. Let's get some trader talk. Michael Nos back in the house, everybody. Michael, good to talk to you again. We had you on this morning. I hope the day treated you well. I know, obviously I know you were looking this morning, and we'll maybe talk about some of the banks, especially the regional banks in the U.S. But just to start things out, we were just talking about the crypto, Bitcoin and the breakout. Ultimately healthy for people like yourself, for day traders. I can't believe I didn't trade IBIT today, but I wasn't thinking short, so it was just never going to happen, I guess.
Well, and that I heard in the green room, that was a pretty bold call on Circle. So I actually brought up the chart here because this is actually something I've been watching. Took a nibble on Friday, got paid a little bit for it today. But
okay.
The basic idea here is I just drew an anchored VWAP from the IPO price, right? And this is something, again, shout out to Brian Shannon, who wrote the book, quite literally, on anchored VWAP. And this is one of his favorite setups and quickly becoming one of my favorite as well, where the idea is the anchored VWAP gives us the average price with volume included. And if you anchor a VWAP from the IPO date, then you end up having the average price of the average market participant who's been kind of dollar cost averaging into Circle for a while now. And right off the bat, you can see every single time we've pulled into this anchored VWAP, it's been a buying opportunity. So it's one of those, until there's some proof that we're going to break this, I'm going to keep buying at that level and then flipping out a couple days later. I don't know much about the company. I don't know why it's ripping so much. If it's basically just like a bank that makes carried interest, but every time we hit this level, we seem to buy. So I'm continuing to play this bounce and circle until the market proves otherwise, which is really just one daily close below this level, and I'll leave it alone for a while.
Well, that's literally what I'm. So like, I don't think it's that bold what I said, except for the fact that I'm saying it's going to break that support this month. I guess that's bold. But the fair thing would be say when it I pay for locates every single day on that stock for the day that it breaks that level. And I think as a day trader, real trading, it's relatively cheap for us to pay for the locates, and you just want to be prepared. Because I promise you, the day it breaks that support level, if I go to pay for the shorts after it's done so, you're going to be paying way more because everyone's going to want it at that point. So I don't think we're looking at the same thing. I just find myself begrudgingly waiting for it to break down. I did have a long today in it, just for the record. I don't only go short the stock. I've actually done way better going long the stock. But I think it's important. There's lots of ways that you can use a technical level like that, whether it's a break of the anchored VWAP or be a buyer. The more important thing, as you like to point out, is that you have eyes on the right names at the right areas for the right reasons. Now, what you do with it is up to your execution strategy. I think you can go long every single time and make money, and then when it breaks, get out. Or you could wait patiently for it to break that support and hopefully bank on the short trade. There's something out there for everyone, but it starts with you, and obviously with Stats Edge, at finding that right spot.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes when you see a setup that clean, I often kind of get worried about it that, if it's treating me too well, it's like each time I want to take less size, I guess, on the trade, because at some point you keep knocking on the door of this like 182-ish, which is that support plus the anchored VWAP. Eventually it's going to break. And I agree. At some point, just look at that, BMNR, that did the same thing. It ripped. And when it broke, it just cratered in a day.
Yeah, that's rough. That was a rough one for a lot of people. And I think it's a good cautionary tale. Is a 15 going to show it? Yeah, I think a 15 will kind of give the idea. Like when something like that does break down, it gets very, very nasty. Sort of, I'm with you on that. And I think it comes down to, like, traders all know this. You have some, when you find a good level, you find an indicator or whatever it might be, or you find the stock in the right spot. The first time it gives you the move, great. Second time, the chances that you're the only one that sees this, fair enough. But when it just keeps on doing it over and over again, that's just more and more people crowded into that trade. The likelihood of it going as far, there's more sellers on the up move because there's more short-term entries in there. There's more stops as it breaks down. It just, everything about it means it's not as good risk the 10th time as it is the first 7 or 8, 9 times. And I live by that rule. If I will never like a support and if it like after the second time, the third time, I'm like, there's no chance I'm taking it with the same size at that level. And that's only the third time through. So I agree with you there. This morning you were talking, we're going to earnings season, but you were talking about the regional banks this morning. Was there anything that might have got you? Like I know you were looking at some setups. Was there anything that might have piqued your interest in terms of getting into it today? I know the market didn't move a heck of a lot overall.
It was a good close for regional banks. So I have regional banks up here. And for those who missed the morning show, the idea was I have a strategy, right? What we do at Stats Edge trading is we're quants, right? So I'm a quant. I build strategies. Those strategies give me setups at the end of the week, and then I take a look at those and I take the trades on kind of whatever is the most interesting to me. So a lot of them from this kind of momentum continuation strategy were regional banks. So it might, if I start to see a lot of them trigger, it might be worthwhile to just take the regional banks. Or I also talked about DPST, which is a triple leveraged, again, for short-term trading only. That might be an interesting one as well. But yeah, it's good candle, right? Strong candle, strong close, because when I ran all the stats, it was down here at the low end of the range. But I really wasn't too interested in taking too much because we have JP Morgan's earnings tomorrow morning and a bunch of other earnings that are coming up tomorrow morning. That to me has me a little bit cautious because even though they're a different kind of bank, they're still going to move somewhat with JP Morgan earnings. So I'm really excited tomorrow. But yeah, if we break this level, this is a very nice tight flag on a sector that I think is super interesting. And not only is important because it's a trade setup and I want to take the trade setup and make money. But I think if we get a break in regional banks and we also have been having some strength in XBI, which is biotechs, those are the largest components of the Russell 2000. So if these both sectors that look really great start to break up around the same time, it means that IWM might finally get out of bed and we might actually have some small cap move as well, which I for one like. It's fine to trade the same couple mega caps for the number of years, but if there's only 500 names in the S&P 500, there's 2,000 in the Russell 2000. So if that starts to get going, then I think there's a lot of names under the hood that we can take a look at.
Oh, that XBI 89. Can it just finally happen already, Michael? Are you kidding me? It's been dying to break out. But that's sort of the thing, like the level of patience required as a trader, especially a swing trader. And to credit to yourself, like as a day trader, okay, the stock you like doesn't set up. Well, you throw some scanners up, something else is going to go that day. Whereas when you're waiting for a swing entry, hey, you might have to wait days, weeks for something that you've been anticipating and requires that. But you don't get that without, you're not going to be able to have the patience without putting the work in to know technically what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I have to do this, Michael, because I want to shift gears for a quick little second. And you don't know what I'm about to bring up, but I'm bringing it up anyways. Because a certain person I know, handsome gentleman, might have posted this on X. And what stage of the market cycle is Elmo got hacked and started a crypto scam? Yeah. Elmo giving away some soul. So just, I want to get your thoughts on, in general, like cycles and the risk when it comes to like some sorts of breakouts and some sort of technical trades versus other. You just mentioned maybe you don't want to get into KRE and that's set up because of JP Morgan. Now, when trading some of the crypto names or engaging in higher risk plays, that's like times 10 the risk that you could have for rug pulls and whatnot. But I just want to get your general thoughts. I know you do trade. Like I don't even touch the altcoins myself. I know you do trade them. I just want to get your general thoughts on do you ever take certain moves and say, okay, well, now this has just gotten out of hand, I don't want anything in the space? Or do you just sit back and remember your technicals lead everything?
Well, first of all, that was probably the most tame thing Elmo tweeted before they got the account back. I don't know if you were following that, but that got pretty wild. So I'm glad you only brought up that one. But
we try to keep it clean here, Michael.
Yeah, Elmo went a little crazy last night, so I'm glad that he's back to normal. I was worried about putting on Sesame Street for the kids in case that got hacked too. But it's easy to point looking back at a lot of these crazy events and say, well, that was definitely a top. And I think that when we get a crypto top, we'll look at stuff like that. We'll look more importantly at every company in the world that's a failing company is now a crypto treasury.
Right.
You take a marketing business and it's not going so well. It's like, yeah, let's just YOLO Solana. Eventually, it all comes down, and eventually it's going to be a little bit of a pullback and a bad time. The problem is, and one of the biggest quotes that I always like to remember, I think it was George Soros, was, if I see a bubble, I run into it. And that's the kind of what I want to do from a technical point of view when I'm looking at Bitcoin. And if we go around just to some of these altcoins and we look at like Ethereum, we have kind of barely broke out of Ethereum. We're still nowhere near this high, which is also still below all-time highs. And then Solana, we really haven't moved either. So we're seeing frothiness in some activity, but we're not really seeing that in price. And at the end of the day, if we are seeing some craziness in both, and it looks like there's a giant bubble going on, I couldn't be more excited because I want to be in that bubble. I want to be participating in that bubble as much as I possibly can. And then eventually, when it comes unwound, that's fine, especially in the crypto markets, because they're 24/7. So you have stop losses that are always working. If there's some sort of crypto crash in the middle of the night, as long as you got your stops out, you'll get a fairly decent price. So bubbles are only bad for people who do not have an exit plan. So I will say, if you're going to participate and you're seeing all this craziness of, the treasury companies and crypto scams popping back up and all of this, use it as a warning sign to just make sure you're double checking that your stops are in place. But bubbles can go way further than anyone can think. I don't even know if we're in a crypto bubble yet. Although if we are, again, we'll look back at these treasury companies and say, oh, of course a failing biotech can't just YOLO Ethereum and then be a great company. We just don't know. And while the trend is going, I just want to stick with it as long as I can.
I'm with you on that. For those who don't have an exit plan, that's where the bubbles are a problem. And I've said that.
Yep.
I've had that conversation with my dad, because he'll come to me like, because he's a buy and hold a passive investor, and when things get ridiculously frosty, I'm just like, well, do you have a plan? It's like, if you're sitting there and you don't care and you never sell, then whatever, you're holding it to your retirement. But if you're active and you're getting in and you're getting out, then part of getting in is having a plan to get out. And if that's not what you do, then who cares? And if that is what you do, then have a plan to get out. But it's funny that you said failing biotech company holding Ethereum. It's not even ETH. There was this one today. It was Sonnet that holds the first treasury for Hype token, which, first of all, I don't even know what that is. Don't at me if you're anybody who's pushing the Hype token. I don't know them, but it was insane today. And if there was a one mistrading opportunity, it was probably not shorting this all day long. But to that point, anybody that was in, this is up 70% after falling from 30 to 10. And my point is, that's a nasty looking move. There's no questions asked. It's disgusting. People could get burned doing that. But if you happen to be in this thing early, how could you not have done extremely well? There was so many obvious places to get out. And I sort of point to that. When you look at trends that break, it's not easy to always pull the trigger when a trend breaks. But it's usually relatively easy to spot when it does happen. And I think as long as you have indicators out there, that's what makes a lot of sense. I know you like to use trailing stops and have an idea of where the out is. I'm just curious. Has there ever been a situation where you've let something fly in a trade because it's now gone so far out of whatever your model norm is that you don't have a trail? You can just say, well, I'm only holding 10%, and I'm kind of playing it by ear. Have you ever found yourself without a technical out because it was so parabolic? Because I've seen some charts where I don't even know what to look at because I don't use Fibonacci's or anything along those lines. And I'm just kind of curious for those ridiculously extended moves, which you can see in crypto.
Yes, and Lunar is actually a really good example. Way back, I think around $5. I got my system triggered an entry around here at $5, and then you can see a couple days later it gapped up to around 10. So and I just develop rules for everything. Every time I'm in a situation that I don't know what to do, I just do the best I can and then take that as a learning opportunity to write down another rule and then codify that rule in my system. So right away, the rule was, if you ever get a double, just exit half right away. And then you can figure out what to do with the rest of it then, because you've gotten your money that you initially invested in. This one, I end up just putting a moving average on and going from there. So in a lot of cases, yes, if it gets too far extended, it gets too far out of the way, that is the rule, is that you take half off. The moment I don't know what to do, it's half off the table immediately, and then try to pick a moving average that the stock respected in the past, try to pick something that makes a little sense, a trend line that I can see, and just know that it's a suboptimal estimate. But it happens all the time. Thankfully, they're good problems to have. When we have stocks that gap down against us, which of course happens, that is where you really tightly stick to your rules, right? You put out your stop loss, you take your hit, you move on. When you have these good problems, they're still problems. So at least for a majority of the position or half of the position, I respect the normal exit rules. And then you can kind of play a little bit with the house's money from that. And that's where some, quick and dirty technical analysis can help you out. But you always have to, it doesn't matter how many rules you put into your system, there'll always be something that happens that's outside that system. So I always just say two-step process, right? Get light enough that you're thinking clearly, which means just sell enough or cover enough that you're thinking clearly, manage the rest, and then use that as an opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to develop a system around what happens when the unexpected happens.
Well, first, Michael, I'm exactly the same way with rules, so I love hearing you say that. And second, we actually have a question from Miami Dragon in the chat asking for, I guess, a little bit more information about what you guys do over at Stats Edge. Do you mind providing some insight?
Yeah, sure. So you guys have been here for a while. You know me. I'm a technician. I'm a CMT. But as time has gone on, there's more gray in my beard and all of that. I've just become more and more of being a quant. So the idea behind that is I take things that I see in the world when it comes to trading, and I try to systematize those. So for example, the KRE trade is really just a bull flag if you break it down. But because of the leaps in AI and the fact that I'm learning a little bit of coding and AI is doing most of the work, I can systematize those. So I can essentially test what happens if I had done this same setup, this same breakout over the last 25 years. What's the win rate? What's the risk reward? How is it best to manage? And I do all of these tests. And then when I have systems that make sense, I give those to the Stats Edge Pro members. So we have day trading systems, we have swing trading systems, and we have investment systems. So for the swing trading, once a week, there's just an email and says, here's everything that popped out of the system, entry price, exit prices, go do your own research, take a look at the charts. Every morning, here's all the day trades that's set up. I took 42 day trades today. It was a very busy day. And then once a month, here's the investment systems, which usually is rotating into the strongest stocks in the market, that type of thing. And the main premise and the main idea that I have is that there's not one system that always works. So I might as well trade as many systems across as many time frames as I possibly can. So when system A may be a little bit underperforming, system B will be doing so well, and vice versa, to try to smooth out that equity return. So that's what we do. We're combining mostly quantitative analysis with a handful of technical analysis in order to try to get an edge up on the market.
That you have. I could try to explain what you do. I know what you do over there, Michael, and you do great work, but it's always best to hear it from the horse's mouth. Thank you so much for A, dropping knowledge, B, having a little bit of fun. I love that humble thing, and it's somewhat amusing if anyone wants to check out that thread, but we showed the most tamest thing that was out there. But thank you so much. Good luck in all of your trades, and hopefully Bitcoin to the moon, and we'll talk to you again on Friday. A pleasure having you as always, Michael.
See you Friday. Have a good one.
You too. Aha, I've learned to get. See, I figured it out. Fabian can't hit the alarm if we still have the guest on. You can't do it. You can't hit that siren that says we've gone on too far. I know it's past 4:30, but that was a good question. I wanted to give a chance. We want to give a chance for Michael to answer that, not just only talk shop, but allow him to talk about what he does over there. But you know what time it is? It's roll call time, because if you want to be part of roll call on the market recap brought to you by Beta Pro, then get your name in the chat, throw it in there, give a big shout out. But before you do that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. It's a subs-only chat. Give a big shout out to Obi filling in for Sean, getting a well-deserved vacation, to Brendo, the midday boys. Obi's still here chilling out, saying, oh boy, and going over his charts. Shout out to Fabian, Ramin, and Andre, of course. Big shout out to Adara, bringing us the news and keeping us locked and loaded all day long. But you know what time it is. Roll call time, everybody.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you so much to Beta Pro Global X for sponsoring, bringing us this wonderful recap. Thank you to Neil. Thank you to Sean. Hope he's enjoying his vacation in Boston. Thank you to Obi. Thank you to Sharif and Joe. Thank you to Andre, Fabian, Ramin, and Brendan, and this whole chat. Obi saying, oh boy. So it's an oh boy kind of day, guys, and actually week. Tranquil Channel, Mr. Ian. We've got Donkey Trader, Sunny Littletree, Why Not, Rivian Millionaire, Susie Fox, Explorer 12, Rob Palmer, Laura Bennett. Works until it doesn't. I love that name. Apple Nani. We've got Trader TV Live. We have Iron, Why Not, Rajesh Miglani. We've got Ryan O'Day, Pug Life 77, Marlon B, Darth Trader. Great name as someone who's currently working through the Star Wars universe. We have Andrew Chow. We've got Miami Dragon, Rob's Weather and News Channel, TH Going West, Aziz Al, John, Rivian Millionaire, and Blippo Blorpo. And thank you as well to Michael Noss for that awesome segment and very wise words about trading rules. But Neil, that brings us to the end of today's show.
It does, but you know what? It's earnings season, everybody, so come right back. We got JP Morgan, the rest of the banks reporting. Later this week, we'll get ASML. It's going to be an exciting week, everybody. Volatility's there, whether it's in crypto, whether it's Palantir all-time highs, regardless, whatever happens, we're here to bring it to you and trade you through it. So let's get there 8:30, bright and early. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.
I pity the fool that doesn't hit the like and subscribe button.